On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have never left California.
This Brownsexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no! Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
It'd be better if I'm actually on screen. Quote. I'm totally fine with everything he said except one major part, and that's the MVP again. It's just that I think I could win another Super Bowl, and that would be totally fine. So, bro, why are you thinking MVP? You don't want Super Bowls? Super Bowls are, I think, 5 times greater than an MVP award. Close quote. Here's the issue, Mr. Gronkowski. When you talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's a lot easier for him to win MVPs than for him to win Super Bowls. He has 4 MVPs, 1 Super Bowl. Well, you don't have an MVP, but you have 4 Super Bowls. See, it's a lot simpler for him to go for the lower hanging fruit. So it doesn't surprise me that he's focused on himself versus the team. Tony Dungy. So he took to Twitter and should not have hit send. I think that's the best way you could put it. So he responded to a tweet yesterday morning about a proposed Minnesota state bill which would require menstrual products in boys' bathrooms. So Mr. Dungy scoffed at that notion, and he tweeted the following. Quote, "That's nothing. Some school districts are putting litter boxes in the school bathrooms for students who identify as cats. Very important to address every student's needs." Whew. Close quote. I have a lot of profound respect for Mr. Dungy. I do. Former Super Bowl champion as a player and as a coach. My mother and my father taught me, if there isn't anything that you could say that could contribute to the conversation, don't say it at all. And I mean, I'm not nearly as at the ripe old age that Mr. Dungy is. I think he's rounding third and coming close to 60, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes it's just things that you shouldn't even ever say, and that's one of those things. Let the sleeping dogs lie, and if you can say that and actually have movement with other ways, You can, but in the Twitter sphere, nah. Wonderful news coming out of Western New York. Bills safety Damar Hamlin, he's returned to the team's facility on almost an daily fashion. The head coach of the team, Sean McDermott, is excited about the addition. Of course, he won't be playing. He's on the IR for the rest of this year at least. But of course, his addition and his presence there is an added boost to a team that probably felt a little shell shocked ever since 2 Monday nights ago when he fell limp 2 seconds after getting up with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter in the second to last regular season. No, sorry, the last ever regular season Monday Night Football game in 2022. McDermott went onwards to say about Hamlin's presence, quote, "It's limited just overall, but he comes in and it started today or yesterday and trying to get into a little bit of a routine, getting himself acclimated again and taking it one step, baby step at a time. Just dipping his toe back in here and getting on the road to getting back to himself." Close quote. Now that does my heart good, and I hope he continues to be on the road to get back to himself. And from all of us here at Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, we thank you for the human being that you are, Damar. We wish you all the success in the world, and if it means that you find your way back on the gridiron, good. If it means you don't, that's good too. Just as long as your humanity reigns supreme on this earth, because we need more men and more people like you. Now, I would have loved to end today's whip around with that. Unfortunately, there's some things that scratch my head, such as Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's talking bounty talk. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, he says that he's been dealing with a sprained shoulder, and he was asked if he'll likely be running due to the physicality of the Giants when the Eagles do face them this Saturday night. And so he said the following when posed that question. Quote, "It's football. I got a bounty on me every week. I go out there on the field. So I'm going to go out there and play my game. Whatever happens, happens." Close quote. Sir, do you realize that when you use the word bounty, that it is a negative connotation? You know, bounty as in people will pay to see you get carried off the field. Bounty as in there was an investigation done with the New Orleans Saints back in the 2009 season, and they thought there was a bounty on Brett Favre's head in the 2009 NFC Championship game. Bounty such as your own team has had a history of that. Remember, it was alleged that the late Eagles head coach Buddy Ryan put out a hit or a bounty on kicker Tony Sendejas. Be careful with that word. I mean, you can't really say things like that because you might trigger some people and you might have the Shield investigate you. Oh. And before I bring on the next subject, I will now do the following. Now betting the man who is jumping up and down because his Giants are going to be playing Saturday night in the NFC divisional round in Philly. Number 420, Wise El Jefe. Number 420.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. All right. So. So the Cowboys and 49ers, they're going to do battle Sunday night. Kickoff is at 6:30 Eastern. But there's one player that, for some reason, shouldn't be there, but will still be there, and that is Cowboys kicker Brett Maher. Now, for those who don't know, he missed 4 extra points in the 31-14 victory over the Bucks in the last Super Wildcard game this past Monday night. But the team is being positive. They're saying, he had the case of the yips. And now there is a trending hashtag on Twitter, which is hashtag kickers are people too.
He missed 4 extra points, right?
Yes, four extra points.
Four. Missed 4 of them.
Yes.
Extra points are a set destination, right?
Yes, it is.
It's not like if you're in the 35, it's whatever, but it's a set yardage, whatever.
Yes, 33 yards.
And he missed 4 of them.
Yes.
And he still has his job.
I love how you bring it home. Yes. He
And
missed 4 extra points. Basically, what
extra points, not field goals.
Not field goals.
Extra points.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has his job.
Yeah. And
that don't surprise me. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
But wait a minute. Here's the thing. It's not that he missed 4 preseason extra points in the game. It's not like he missed 4 regular season extra points in the game. He missed 4 playoff extra points in the game.
That had it not been the Buccaneers, and had it been the team that actually can match up pretty well, then it might have cost them the game.
I guarantee you, against the 49ers or against the Eagles.
49ers or against any other team besides
I was going to say.
Anybody other than anybody in the NFC South.
Yeah. I was going to say, against the 49ers, against the Eagles, even against the Giants, you missed those 4 points. Yeah. They would be missing them, and it would come back to bite them.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. But yes, kickers are people too, huh? Well, unfortunately, fans are not. And you'll be hearing a lot of that when you travel to Santa Clara. Yeah, good Lord. And then this story warms my heart. I'm sorry, you're about to be angry with me, Wise, but I had to focus on this. Jabari Smith Jr., he's a rookie playing for the Rockets. When the Lakers went to Houston, he had to buddy up with one LeBron James. And
I saw that. He played against his dad his rookie year or whatever it was.
Yes. Not only that, he did.
Who is his father?
His father is Jabari Smith Sr., I think, right? I think, yeah. So he said that he said you played against my dad. LeBron's very first NBA game.
Yes.
The very first game that he ever played. The wonderful spot, though, that I love about this was when he said to Mr. James, quote,
"Don't you feel?
You feel old, don't you?"
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
I just thought that was just a good touch. And I was like, I know.
No, that was hilarious. I saw that. I thought that was funny. So
yeah, it was. And I was saying, I know this isn't Wednesday, but I figured that story was wonderful because we need to have a lighthearted moment to end today's whip around. And I figured that story was perfect to do so.
Oh, that's funny. I enjoyed that. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, that's hilarious.
It is. I loved it too. That concludes today's whip around. To the Fanatic Feedback Zone before we do take a pause for the cause. Good morning to one Mr. Victor Locke, and thank you for appearing on yesterday's Cold Sports. I totally appreciate you. Good morning to Throwback Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning, he says. Sig Diggy, our Norwegian fan out there, he says, it's always a joy to wake up to the sound of Bill O'Reilly going off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. To you, sir, I say good afternoon, since I know it is past 12 o'clock where you are now. Victor says, we don't have a feed of you guys. No, it was me. You heard me, but you didn't see me. Good Lord. Sick talking about Aaron Rodgers. He says, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is one and done when it comes to Super Bowls. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He has that one at least. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Victor responding to Tony Dungy's tweet that he took down. He says, ouch, that's tough. He went
What
on
did
with
Tony
this.
Dungy put up?
He basically said that, you have to, when you have to cater to people with bathrooms, they now actually are putting kitty litter in bathrooms just to appeal to those who think they're cats.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Victor says the Twitter sphere is a much different battlefield when anything you can say will be considered hate speech. Yeah. Yeah. Even in the Elon Musk world of Twitter.
I don't really consider it hate speech.
I just think he was trying to be funny, but unfortunately, people's
Honestly,
ears are sensitive.
people are very sensitive nowadays.
Mhm.
You can't say anything. You can, but it sucks when someone who you know is a really good person and Tony Dungy and what he's done for a lot of people and what he's done for men of color. It's not like he has any malice in his heart.
No, I
That's
don't
my
think he
point.
does.
It's not he doesn't have it's and so people want to make more of it than it is. And I get the humor in it. I understand it. It's funny to me.
Mhm.
And whoever doesn't like it, hey, that's your opinion. But everybody's overly sensitive now. You can't say anything about anyone without anyone getting offended. Like, can't even say call people stupid anymore.
No, you
There's
can't.
some really stupid people out there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Six says, well, should they have condom dispensers installed in the boys' restrooms, Mr. Dungy? Yeah. Yeah. And they were actually talking about it by the time that both Wise and I were in high school. They were talking about it in my high school that they were going to do that. But they decided not to in the long run. Six says, Cole, I honestly don't think that DeMar Hamlin should ever return to football. Have doctors even discovered the cause of his cardiac arrest? It hasn't been publicized, but I'm sure he knows. But I would not be surprised though if he does come back onto the field. And I say that because if you all remember Alex Smith, quarterback first of the Chiefs and then of the Washington football team, he had 17 surgeries and a couple of them actually were life threatening. I mean, and his career was done and his life was almost over. Yet he still got the chance to come back and did and played on that repaired leg for I think a year, maybe two, but I definitely know it was a year. So you never know.
Yeah, but with a situation like that, because you get a lot of people say, "Oh, is he vaccinated? Did he take the vaccine?" That's the cause of it.
Oh
Because you
God,
get a lot of I've heard that all over from
I,
everywhere, and I just want to punch people in the throat.
I heard that the day after
Yeah, I just
that
want to punch people
incident
in the
happened.
throat. I just want to punch people in the throat. Like that's what y'all worried about. Why? That's what y'all worried with because the vaccine. That's what gave it to him.
Yeah,
It's really stupid.
yeah, he passed out because of a vaccine. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious. So both Victor and Six say good morning to you, sir. He says
Good
that
morning,
office is pretty
gentlemen.
dark.
Yeah, I got the side lights on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sick also says Tom Brady owes his first 2 Super Bowl rings to Adam Vinatieri. Yeah,
He does. He does.
Yeah, and can't argue that. Mr. Fit Down Sports Show, otherwise known as Christopher Deeds.
Morning,
How you doing, Deeds? He says, good morning, boys and girls. Underrated darkness. Good morning to you, my man. I hope everything is well with you in your world. Victor says, coaches make players do free throw drills. Why didn't these coaches make these kickers do extra point drills?
Victor, that would be a good question you can ask your coach.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could ask
Wise. Your team that's actually allowing him, who kept him on
after missing 4
extra points.
Still kept him on.
Still kept him on the team. Bless your heart, Jerry Jones. You didn't want to get rid of him because
No,
you want him to go redeem himself in the Super Bowl. I know,
no,
I get it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand it. I
He's all
understand it, Jerry.
he's all about the story.
Yeah.
Six says, "Well, it was a bad night for him. Things happen. Yeah, things may happen, but
Things like that, you lose your job over.
for an NFL kicker missing four
Extra points.
extra points in the game, in a playoff game at that, because every point does matter. That's tough." Deed says that's all they do, Victor. Pretty much the entire practice. Well,
It's just
that might
kick,
be true.
right? Yeah, that's all they
Yeah.
probably be doing is
Mhm.
kicking.
Yeah. Yeah. But Victor, actually, this is me. How in the world you miss 4 extra points in a row? The third miss I still think was tipped at the line, but the other 3, there was no excuse at all. Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so the third one you could chalk it up to the offensive line not blocking correctly. All right. But what
And
about
it
the
happens.
other 3?
Yeah. I was about to say, if that was all 4, then you would say, okay, that was the kicker's fault. That's protection. But right. A Pistol, good morning. And I think this is the first time I can say to you, man, congratulations to your Dolphins. They put up a whale of a fight Sunday in Orchard Park. I hope you enjoy that season, and I hope that the Dolphins go up from there. Be proud of them. Be proud of them.
I just got something to say. I just got something to say.
Sir.
They went, got Tyreek Hill, did all the things that they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still ended up 9-7.
Well, 9-8.
Whatever. Still ended up with the same record Brian Flores ended up with the last 2 years. That's all I have to say.
Well, the problem, I had this this person who wanted to argue with me about that particular point, and I had to shut him down fast. I said, look, I get Brian Flores had the same record and got fired.
Yeah.
And Mike McDaniel comes in and he has the same record with
and they have none of the talent that he has right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Had more talent, yet got 9-8. But here's what people will look at. They would say, okay, so in Brian Flores' last year, did the Dolphins make the playoffs? No. In Mike McDaniel's first year, did the Dolphins make the playoffs? Yes. Argument done. And that's unfortunate, but that's how people will look at that season, these seasons. But yes, both finished 9-8. And Flores had a worse offense in terms of scheme and talent than McDaniel has now.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Victor says, yeah, what Tony said was not hate speech. It was very sensitive people will consider it as such because it hurts their feelings. Believe me, I know. I know. 6 says, Tony Dungy has to understand that his words can misconstrue and blow things out of proportion, which he normally does, and that is why it's so out of character for him. Victor says, whoa, that's not my coach. Pennywise, which is Mike McCarthy, will never be my coach. Oh, man. Deet says, don't y'all remember the replacements where the kicker just kicked and smoked cigarettes in practice? Yeah. And when I was in junior high and I was on football, I think I had a kicker who did that. 6 says, wise. I grew up playing soccer. Cardiac arrest has been a problem in that sport, primarily due to undiagnosed predispositions that aren't easy to detect.
And I agree with you. But now, because of all the nonsense and because people want to argue over the fact of the shot, that's what they're gonna be like. Oh, that's the reason why these people are having a cardiac arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame. It's a shame that's what they're gonna use the reason for instead of really trying to find why these people are having these issues. They want to be like, oh, it's the vaccine's fault.
And that's why And that's why it's so stupid and irresponsible for people to do just that. And before we go to break, let's say congratulations to one of our very own Ryan McCarthy of Coffee with McCarthy and No Credentials Required. He says, good morning, Sir Cole, and good morning to everyone in the chat. Great personal news. I finally reached my first weight loss goal. Super excited this morning, and we are super excited with you. Congratulations, Ryan.
Congratulations, brother. I need to reach my first weight loss goal.
I need to reach a weight loss goal first, second, or last.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Lord. When we come back, we will touch on. Let me see. What should I do? Should I do Joe Burrow or should I take Tom Brady to task?
Let's do Joe Burrow.
I figured you would say that, and that is what's going to be next. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. We're joined, as we always are, every Thursday and Friday by my main man, Wise El Jefe. We'll be right back.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
There's a 100% chance of a laugh thunderstorm. Four men with different viewpoints take a movie, show, or documentary and review it uncensored, unfiltered, uncompromised, with no holds barred. Join BS3, Wilkes, King Dog, and H-Rap B as they take on Hollywood their own way. BS3 Network proudly presents The Forecast, where H-Rap B always predicts,
if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God.
live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
The original Think Drink is back. Level up with proven ingredients formulated to crush your competition. No gimmicks, no jitters, no messing around. Just high-potency results that keep you moving day or night. There's a new nerd in town, and we came to play. Nerd Focus. Smarter than energy.
Are you waking up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, maybe even ringing in your ears, all because you're grinding and clenching your teeth at night? That's exactly what was going on with me. That's when I found this, the Brux Night Guard. Now, the Brux Night Guard redirects the bite force away from the back teeth, reducing jaw pain while still protecting the teeth. This unique design is what makes Brux Night Guard different from all other traditional grind guards. Go to BruxNightGuard.com and order yours today.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception. First down. Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extra berth. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
'Cause we take this job so serious.
The is that? Sorry, pardon me. My apologies.
What in the all types of blue hell?
This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. As we continue along on Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, I am joined by Wise El Jefe. And we'll be momentarily joined, as we normally do, around this time every Thursday, which is around 8:30-ish Eastern, 7:30-ish Central. We will go totally deets with Chris Deets. Before we do that, back to the Fanatic Feedback Zone, where we have our main man, Cool McCain. He says, yo, how's it
He's
going?
the enemy this week, but I still love him.
I was about to say, and now you have an Eagles fan, and my partner here is a Giants fan. So that when NFC Beast is on air, which will be this Friday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Was it this Friday? I didn't even know.
Oh no, Saturday. I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
I won't be there Saturday because Saturday night is the game.
That's what I was going to say. They normally air their episodes every Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Unfortunately, there is a big time kickoff that happens right around 8:15.
Yeah,
between the Giants and the Eagles. So it's still going to be an interesting.
Either way, a team from the NFC Beast is in the title game. So
one NFC East team will be guaranteed being in the NFC Championship game next week. Yes, correct. 6 says people are looking for a magic bullet. Wise, I'm unvaccinated, but I don't leave the house without a mask on. It's called being a responsible adult. Well, Wise.
That's because everyone is not.
Well, Wise. Not you. I'm sorry. Sick. Now you have lived long enough. Wise definitely has lived long enough, and I've lived long enough to understand that they're unlike you and unlike Wise and unlike me. There are a lot of people who are adults and they are irresponsible, and they don't give two rips about protecting other people. You know that just as much as we do. Victor says, yeah, let's talk about Joe. Leave that old man alone. Rod can't take that disrespect. All I was going to say was, look, get fitted for a Tom Ford suit, get into the booth, and start being a color guy. Get off the field. Your time is done.
It's time to go.
Yeah. 6 says, I appreciate A-Trap B's honesty in that ad. That's why I don't trust cats with money. Whenever at the end of the forecast he'd say that, I was like, oh, that's going to be interesting to use in the commercial.
Yeah.
Oh God. Sick also says that clip of Wise Unfiltered never gets old.
No.
And Victor says, good morning to you. Cool. All right. It is now time to go totally deets. Passionate.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Unflinching.
Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier.
Unrelenting.
They're not going to keep him off the field tonight!
Totally.
This one has a chance!
Deets.
That's not just a murmur, that's a full-blown fibrillation.
And joining Wise and myself is the man who is in charge of the Fifth Down Sports Show, and he joins us every Thursday. It is the one, the only Chris Deets.
Y'all talk about I'm dark. Y'all talk about I'm dark, man.
Yo, we have no sunlight today. It's a totally gray day. It's totally gray outside. It is what it is.
Sounds like a typical mid-Atlantic winter. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Well, welcome to New England. By 4:00, the sun will be out.
Probably. And yeah, and then they'll set in another hour. So yeah.
Yeah. Like they say, if you don't like the weather in New England, just wait 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. All right. So
Cole, before you introduce the next topic,
shoot.
I just want to say no one has a better football career right now than Joe Burrow. You understand that Joe Burrow started playing football his sophomore year of high school.
That's crazy.
He started every game sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school. His team wound up in the Ohio State Championship every single year. They played in 3 straight state championship games. He goes to Ohio. He goes to college. Goes to Ohio State.
Let's say first, right?
Red shirts, so he never steps on the field.
Right.
Then the next year, they still had, I believe it was Dwayne Haskins. So they had Dwayne Haskins, so he sits the bench, never sees the field. They bring in Justin Fields. He transfers to LSU, and this was before the transfer portal. So when he transferred, he had to sit out the next year.
Correct.
So his junior year, the first year he gets to play in college,
which was 2019.
he has the greatest season of any college quarterback and plays in the national championship game. So let me just recap this for you. 3 years 3 years of starting in high school, 3 state championships. 1 year in college, national championship. He goes to the NFL. He plays 6 games and ends up getting injured his rookie year.
Right.
Second year in the league, plays the entire season. The Bengals end up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Every single year this guy has played in every game, he has played in a championship game. In every single year. It hasn't stopped. That's unbelievable.
Some quarterbacks are just that good. They are proven winners. There's just some people that they're just wherever they go, their preparation and their mentality is that they're going in there winning.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow has no lack in faith in his ability.
This game this weekend. Why is this? Is this game being played in Buffalo?
It's in Buffalo.
Yes.
Why?
Because Buffalo's the number 2 seed.
This should be the game. This should be the. This is where the NFL messed up. This game should be played at a neutral site.
Okay. We could start there. All right. So the NFL basically just said, okay, well, we just ain't going to consider the game to be played at all. And we're just going to go strictly by what your records will be at the end of the year. And of course, the Bills going into their game with the Bengals that now does not count had a 1-game lead over the Bengals. And so that's how they ended. Because of that, you believe Deets that they should have done a neutral site game with this one as well, as if the Bills were to advance into the game and play the Chiefs?
Because if when the game was stopped, and I know it was stopped in the first quarter, so that I know there was plenty of time for the Bills to come back. When the game was stopped, Cincinnati was winning the football game.
They were up 7-3 with the ball, right?
Now, had Cincinnati won that game, guess what? They would have had the same record, and Cincinnati would have had a heads-up victory over the Bills, which is the first tiebreaker, which would have given Cincinnati home field advantage
over the Bills in this game, right?
Therefore, because Cincinnati had nothing to do with them canceling. I mean, with them never rescheduling the game. Right. So if you're going to make that, if you're going to carve that out for the Bills and say, hey, if the Bills play the Chiefs because the Bills didn't get to finish their game, we're going to do that at a neutral site. Why isn't this game at a neutral? This game is the game that was most affected, and this one should be at a neutral site. I mean, it only makes it. I'm sorry, but it only makes sense because if Cincinnati had won that
NFL,
game,
so when does anything in the NFL make sense?
No, none of it makes sense.
There you go.
I mean, they should have and I know why they didn't. They should have had this. They should have played this game on Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. And I know it was impossible because at that point Hamlin was still in the ICU. So
yeah, that would have been.
They couldn't do it because the optics of it would have looked horrible. But again, this goes back to what everybody said when this game was stopped was what do we do now? What happens when these two teams meet? Like.
My solution, and it probably would be crass, would be, okay, so you're not going to play the game. What was the score when the game was suspended? Oh, 7-3 Bengals? Well, they won the game. So you give the Bills a choice of, we accept that this is the lead or the deficit that you had when the game was stopped, or will you accept the forfeiture? Those are your only two choices. And if the NFL would receive backlash for that, forget it.
Would they? They would have received ultimate backlash.
Forget it. Receive that backlash. receive that backlash because take it and roll with it. Like, yeah,
No,
this
but
is
the
what we
smart thing,
decided,
like
and
you
we're
said,
gonna go.
the smart logical thing would have been that the Buffalo Bengals game would have been a neutral site. Screw the fact the Bills and Chiefs. The Chiefs already the number 1 seed, so this is more in actuality with the number 2 seed.
The problem though with that was the Bills going into that game, although, well, going into that week, the Bills actually were the number 1 seed. That's the issue there.
But if the Bill, this is it's so weird because they carved this out for the Bills if they make the championship game against the Chiefs.
100%, yes, 100%.
But if the Bills had lost that game, if they had
lost the game, they would have been the
I was
number 3
getting in
seed.
arguments with a Bills fan on Sunday about this. I said, dude, this helped you. If you lost that game outright, you would be going to Kansas City. So, and you were losing at the time. So it's not like you could sit there and say, well, we would have won the game. No, you were losing at time. And Cole, your point makes perfect sense. What do they do in baseball? You know, in baseball, if there's a rain delay after the 5th inning and they have to stop the game, what do? They count. They look at the score and they go, all right, well, who was winning? All right, we're done.
Yeah, this team
We're
won.
done.
Yeah.
It's 7-3. It's 7-3 Yankees. Yankees win.
Yeah,
that's what they do. If they can't finish the game, they just take it right from there.
That's exactly how I was rationalizing it. Exactly. Because I'm like, they do that in baseball all the time with rain delays, and if they can't make the game up, they say, okay, well, what was the score in that? What was the score when the game got suspended? Okay, well, that's the final score.
I mean, and you don't have to make a pot like this was a freak. It was a freak incident.
Right.
I mean, this is unless the only way the NFL needs to address this in the offseason, because I've seen that from people. Oh, they need to have a policy. The only way you need to have a policy is if the NFL plans on having this happen more than once.
Yeah, I was about to say
this needs to never happen again.
I'm saying if players drop like flies on the field, then a policy probably needs to be implemented. But
then we've got a bigger issue than trying to finish football games.
Exactly. And I'm about to say, then you'd be like, okay, the sport really isn't safe if we're having players just drop to the turf. Yeah. Nah. But Vic actually agrees with you, Wise, that the neutral site game would have been the best decision in a bad situation, and with you, Deeds. Yeah, I'm basically of the ilk of. I can somewhat understand Joe Mixon's point because he actually got fined by saying stuff should not be decided by coin flips. That's really how I feel about it. I'm like,
he got fined for that.
He got fined for it.
Well, yeah, he went against the Shield.
He got fined for it.
He didn't say nothing offensive though. He's just saying
no,
it should be decided by a coin flip. What's wrong with that?
No, you don't question the Shield, Wise. They will fine you. They fine you for wearing the wrong cleats. You don't think they're gonna fine you for literally throwing them under the bus?
They fine you if you don't even have the stockings of your team colors up. I mean, all you have to do is, as an NFL player, say, the NFL got it wrong in this situation, and they hit your pocketbook. And yeah, I agree. All Joe was doing was just expressing himself. But yeah, he got hit in the bag.
And you know how you solve this? Go play at the USFL. Go play in the XFL. Play these. That's what I'm saying. Like players. Okay, I understand. It's easier said than done. But
the only issue there is the USFL and the XFL.
Not when you're Joe Mixon making.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon makes more money in one game in the NFL than he would in an entire USFL season.
There you go. Yeah. If the money was a little funnier in the NFL, then you're, 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 then you're your prognostication of what they should do in that situation wise be on the money.
But nobody else can compete with their money. So yeah,
there's your issue. There's your issue.
Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
To answer Ryan McCarthy's question, they probably would have played the game in Detroit like they did when Buffalo got in the snowstorm.
Detroit, let me see. That probably would be the only place they'd play it, because they probably would want to put it in an indoor stadium.
That's why the Chiefs and Buffalo are headed to Atlanta for some reason.
Well, yeah.
All right. So
as neutral sites you can get.
If it's Cleveland and Kansas City, they go to Kansas City. If it's Buffalo and Kansas City,
if it's Cincinnati and Kansas City,
if it's Cincinnati if it's Cincinnati and Kansas City, they go to Kansas City. Right?
They go to Kansas City, yes.
Yeah.
But if it's Buffalo and Kansas City, they go to Atlanta.
They go to Atlanta.
They'll be playing that game in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Both be able to, if whoever it is meets Kansas City in a neutral site, because they both been affected. They both were affected by the same fucking game. Sorry.
The problem though, and I agree with you. Actually, I fully agree with you, man. The only problem
really
though
gets
with
hurt
that
here?
is who?
The fans.
Yes,
of course.
Because when you buy tickets, you get slotted. All right, here's your you usually what you do if you're not a season ticket holder, you have to apply, and then you get you get the second home game, or you get the third home. You get the second home game.
So who gets?
So if you got the second home game for Kansas City, well, now you got to make travel plans to go to Atlanta.
And they
instead of watching the game at Arrowhead.
So whoever got the tickets at Arrowhead, right, for that, say whatever playoff game. So who gets first rights to these games in Atlanta? Like, do the Buffalo Bills fans and Kansas City fans get first right?
I don't know how that's gonna work.
Or do anybody? Or is anyone allowed to go get tickets? Like, so if you live in Atlanta and you want to see a really good game, are you able to go get tickets, or is it only being sold in Kansas City and Buffalo?
That's how they should do it. If they're going to do it that way, it should be only sold tickets. Those tickets should be only sold in Buffalo, in the Buffalo area, and the KC area.
Well, you guys do the stuff. SeatGeek is going to have those seats anyway.
Gosh. They'll gobble them things up and they'd sell it to whomever for whatever price they can get. Oh yeah,
exactly.
No question. Question.
But if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and you got your tickets and you got, oh man, I got the second home game. Well, if Buffalo makes it, if you want to watch your team, you got to fly to Atlanta now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to fly. You can't do anything from Kansas City. You can't go Kansas City to Atlanta. You can go Kansas City to Detroit.
Yeah, it's a little easier.
In a day, that's a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City to Atlanta is at least a 2-day trip.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Ryan, for me to answer your question, I should put it that way. Yeah, Cleveland would be equal. Actually, Cleveland would be closer to Buffalo, really. But to Deet's point, if the NFL is going to decide that this is going to be a neutral site game, if that one would be a neutral site game, yeah, it would have been played in Detroit.
Plus, no one wants to see that elf on the field.
And no one needs to hear that doggone ugly looking elf. I can't believe fans. I can't believe the Browns organization said that the fans voted for that hideous thing to be placed on the 50.
There's no way.
I think that's
There's
a lie.
no way. There's no
a
way any Browns fan voted for Brownie the elf. And if you were gonna do it, why not put a dog? Like, you call your fan base the dog pound. Why not put a bulldog in the middle of the field?
I was like,
it only makes sense.
I was like, there's only three things that I could see that would make sense to put on the 50-yard line, the midfield as a midfield logo in that stadium: the NFL insignia, the Browns helmet, or a dog face. Anything else, it doesn't look right, including that hideous-looking 70-year-old elf. Goodness gracious. But yeah. Oh, and Vic says, yeah, if multiple players are dropping due to random bouts of cardiac arrest, then that's indicative of a much bigger problem, which that goes into the concussion realm. And you're hearing a lot of people say now, well, this game is so dangerous, and you're hearing a lot of parents, people, wises and deets in my age saying, yeah, when my son gets to be of age, he's not touching a football. He's not touching cleats. He's not touching pads. He's not touching a helmet. He's not going on the football field. You start to see that happen with concussions. Now, you might start to see that as well when it comes to the ticker. It's unfortunate.
Well, and you bring up the concussions, which, to get back to your last point of the Miami Dolphins, yeah, they have the same record as last year, yet they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games without their starting quarterback, and 3 of them with their third string quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to do that last year.
Yeah.
5 games with your 3 games with your third string quarterback. Usually that doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. Oh God, Victor, you were fool.
Yeah.
The fans voted for Bronny the Elf. Browns fans are saying, "Why you always lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop freaking lying!"
You just added too close.
That's what always gets me with that. I'm like, you interpolated too close by next. I'm like, man, I cannot ever hear that song the same way again. And Ryan wisely says that by fans, we mean ownership, of course. Cool says, well, hey, the Brownie the Elf, it's still better than Major Tutty. I'm not sure, sir. I'm not so sure, man. I'm not so sure. Major Tutty is hideous. And for those who don't know, Major Tutty is now the official mascot for the Washington Commanders. That thing is hideous. But Brownie the Elf is terrible. Oh my gosh, that thing is terrible. 6 says, don't they have a concussion problem in the NHL? We're actually going to touch on that on Snowman in the morning. I don't think we're going to do it tomorrow. We're definitely going to do it Monday. But the short answer to your question, Sick, is yes, they do, because hockey, unlike football, they believe, yeah, it's more graceful and it's tougher, and that all you need to do is just hit smelling salts underneath somebody's nose, see if they're all right, throw one many fingers in the face, and then you get back on the ice. It's like this braggadocio culture that still pervades NHL, but it could be dangerous from the standpoint of, at least in football, you have helmets. Those thin helmets that you see hockey players wear, I don't know if it's going to be good enough, because they take hits too.
And how many times do we see an NFL player? How many times do we see a guy get a concussion and the announcers tell us, well, it wasn't the hit, it was when their head hit the turf.
Mm-hmm.
Your head's hitting ice.
Right.
You could have your head hit the boards and then crash into ice.
which is just as tough as hitting concrete if it is, if they're playing on turf. Yeah. Yeah.
But any game that involves that, I mean, they have concussion issues. They have concussion issues in soccer.
Yeah.
Any game that involves using your head or getting hit in the head, and anything involves that.
Yeah, totally. Ryan says, look, my dad wouldn't allow me to put on pads with his Joe Theismann's leg being snapped in half by Lawrence Taylor. Yeah, that happened November 18th, 1985, I think. Yeah, and I remember seeing that. I was horrified
that
when I saw it.
That was not pretty.
No, it was not pretty at all. And it was so not pretty. Lawrence Taylor, being the madman that he was on the field at the time, as soon as the tackle was made, he leapt to his feet like his butt was on fire, looked to the Washington sideline and was like,
No. I actually talked to Lawrence Taylor about this.
Mm-hmm.
No, when he hit him, he heard it snap.
Yeah, so I thought.
He said it. He said that somebody asked him. He was speaking at something, and they said, How did you feel on the Joe Theismann hit?" And he said, "I knew it right away."
Yeah,
he said, "I heard it. I heard his leg snap, and that's why he got up and called for them to come over, because he knew it right away."
That's what I'm saying.
And that's crazy when you hear a man's bones snap. Like I can't imagine that sound.
No, and that's what I said. He leapt up like his butt was on fire as soon as the tackle was made. He was like, I was like, wow, it must have been damaging. And then of course, when they did replays, because this was on Monday Night Football, when they did replays of it, it was like, oh, that was gruesome. And of course, that was the end of Joe Theismann's career. So I totally understand why your father would be like, no, Ryan, nah, Yeah, I could totally understand that. And yeah, and that was actually my first year playing football, was that same year. So yeah. 6 says in rugby, they deal with concussions as well, but they have a better protocol, which they do. I studied on that. They do. They have much better protocol on that than the NFL does, and definitely better than the NHL, because they just don't. I don't think they believe much in protocols. And I will touch on your point, Ryan, because that's exactly what was in my head. Victor says the 2023 NFL season is a season of bad kickers and worse mascots. Yeah. 6 says there's been a lot of discussions on concussions in combat sports, MMA and boxing especially. And yeah, that has actually been, especially in boxing, that has been a talk for a while. I mean, for almost 4 decades. Because I remember there was a boxing match, and I cannot remember. Now I can't remember the nationality of the boxer, but I know Boom Boom Mancini was opposing him, and the dude was ahead on points. Mancini knocked him out cold and killed him in the ring. And then they basically said, of course, the head trauma was what did it. And that was like 84, 85. So yeah, that's been talk like that for a long time.
Well, we had discussions off the air, Cole. I told you, if the NFL was really interested in getting rid of concussions, the solution actually sounds crazy. It sounds crazier than you would think. And the solution to concussions, to limiting them, is get rid of the pads.
And that's an interesting concept. Now, I'm going to say I disagree with you. That's an interesting concept, because then that would be, except for the helmet, that would be pretty similar to rugby or even Australian rules football, where, yeah, you don't have the pads. And then the rationale is simple, and I totally understand why. When you have pads on, you feel as though, okay, I think I can dish out more punishment than usual. And so you almost feel, if you're a defender, you know this by playing the game deeds. I know this as well. When you're a defender, you know your goal is you want to literally drive through a ball carrier. And so
that's what you're taught. That's what I was taught. It's like, square up and you hit him right in the chest.
Yeah. Strong, sturdy base, drive through. Yeah, strong, sturdy base and drive through the ball carrier. And normally, when you have some guys who don't necessarily want to be technically square, they feel as though they could just simply launch themselves like missiles. So yeah. Thank you, Ryan. Dooku Kim, and you're right. It was early in that 82. That's right. Yeah, part of his death was attributed to having cut weight before the weigh-in because he was over the 135 weight limit. Yeah, Dooku Kim. Thank you, Ryan. See, this is why I love you all. You all are so knowledgeable. But your point here, though, Ryan, it wasn't talking about NHL. It wasn't until Sidney Crosby was lost for over a year that NHL really started paying attention to concussions. That was my issue with NHL, because I'm thinking to myself, this is one of your biggest stars at the time. I mean,
well, that's why. If it wasn't Sidney Crosby, if it was Joe Blow on the end of the bench, they wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't even have a policy right now. They would just go at business as usual. But it was Sidney Crosby. It was the face of the NHL.
Face, yeah.
So, I was thinking, so it had to take the face of the NHL to get dinged up and lose time and possibly lose some of what he used to be for you all to be serious about it. And it's like, and it's not like he's the first. I mean, we could talk about football being physical, and yes, it is, but hockey's physical too. And yeah, and to me, I really do believe these combat sports, and I do include hockey and football in this too. They have this nonchalant understanding of concussions. They just think, okay,
Look at the UFC. Those fighters are grossly underpaid unless you're a megastar like Conor McGregor or one of these other big names.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you're highly you're trying to win a bonus that they give you when that they pick of fighter of the night.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference between combat sports and the NHL and the NFL is, especially in the NFL, in a combat sport, if a guy takes a hit, there's a doctor paid by the UFC that's there, and he makes that decision based on his medical professional opinion, and the fighter, the people in the ring, the people on the fans, Dana White, nobody can tell that doctor what to do. Nobody can fire that doctor the next day for making the decision that he makes.
And you're right, some of the boxing too.
In the NFL, the guy making the decision is a doctor that is employed
NFL
by the team that needs their guy to go back out on the field.
NFL, NFL endorses.
If they don't like that decision, they can say, "Hey, you didn't do right by our team. You're no longer the team doctor. We're going to go with somebody else."
Yeah.
Which that goes to my problem with how they handled how the Dolphins handled Tua Tagovailoa back in October.
Which shameless plug. If you go to Fit Down Sports Show on YouTube and you find when we had Katie on and talked about concussions, that was exactly her point. Was the NFL needs to have independent doctors that answer to a higher up, that answer to their own medical guy. They need to have their own doctors for not employed by the team, that are employed by the league, and they have final say. And nobody can do anything with them. They just make the call, and that's it.
I agree.
And that was her solution to all of this, was getting a centralized system that doesn't rely on the teams to pay for it. So
she's smart. She's smart, and she's correct, because I think that would eliminate a lot of issues. And we will continue this conversation on the other side. We'll do a quick reset. You now inside hour number 2 of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, as we are joined by Chris Dietz and YSL Jefe. We'll be right back.
Time for hour 2 of this spectacular. Ryan McCoffey now joins us this morning.
That's what you need to do to beat Josh Allen. You need to make him uncomfortable.
Hour 2, time for some Spivey notes. And here's Jay.
Well, I know he's only in his 3rd year, but they're just wasting Justin Herbert.
Hour 2,
the hardest working content creator I know, the playmaker.
Hey, LeBron James, the greatest scorer of all time. Hey.
Hour 2,
the one, the only Christopher Dietz.
They rewarded Ohio State for not playing, and they punished USC for playing.
Hour 2, Sam Shady.
Oh man, it's been a roller coaster ride if you were a Philadelphia Stars fan.
Hour 2, that's Big Ben, the man in charge of the BS3 network.
And if I see Kurt 2 Chainz Cousins out.
Hour 2, Chris Bay's joining us.
Oh my God, this game. Oh, way to go, Sammy.
Hour 2, YSL.
Oh man, I thought I missed it.
What in the all types of blue hell?
Time for hour 2 of this spectacular, and it starts right now.
Well, we're glad that you are inside hour number 2 of Snowman and Morning with Cole Johnson with YZL Hefe with Chris Dietz. I am Cole Johnson, and I'm glad you are here in this riveting conversation. We are actually talking about concussions, and yeah, that was a brilliant point that that your guest made, Dietz, because that is my overarching issue. Because I really believe if the team doctor, if the Dolphins doctor in the hit that Tua took against Buffalo and Miami, that basically started his downward spiral to his health deteriorating right before our very eyes. If they didn't change that diagnosis from concussion to hurt back, it makes me think, and it gives me pause, and it makes me come up with these conspiracy theories. Let me put up that graphic real fast. That the higher ups for the Dolphins basically said to the team doctors, you know, this guy is actually playing well. We need him on the field. Don't diagnose him officially as having a concussion, because that means he would have to sit out this game and the next. If that was an independent doctor, that conversation or that thought process would not have taken place. And I still believe that's what happened. And then it led to his concussion again 4 days later. And for all of us to look at Tua and say, dude, I think you might have to hang it up.
Well, that choice might be made for him.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are not. The Dolphins are already. I've already said they're not extending his contract. So, I mean, and that's the smart. I mean that's the smart thing for the Dolphins. You can't rely on him. You can't rely on him. You can't come out and pay him 5-6 years when you don't even know if he's gonna. You don't even know if he can step on the field next year.
Right.
I mean, so you can't rely on him. So the Dolphins have to go scramble in a different direction. But what team is going to take a flyer on a guy that had 3 concussions in 1 year?
Yeah,
it's just it's not something you can really take lightly. Like this is a position where you invest a lot of money in, and for you to invest in damaged goods, because that's what he is. He's damaged goods now. He is. I'm sorry to say it that way.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
I'm sorry to say it that way.
It's just painful to hear, but you're right.
But he is damaged goods now. Now this is someone you have to be aware of. Anytime he takes a hit, he might suffer a concussion. So are you willing to risk millions of dollars in someone who, if they get hit, that's it? Their career is over? And you're now in the hole for a certain guaranteed amount of money?
Well, to your point, Wise, the Christmas Day hit he took, that wasn't as devastating as the other 2.
No, but not any little single hit, because he still hasn't fully recovered from those first 2.
Exactly.
Everyone that came on this show thought his season was done. Everyone after that second game, and we saw what we saw in that game, we thought his season was done. And then again, they bring him back and he plays. Right? So now the Christmas Day hit, he gets hit, another concussion. He should have never been on the field
in the first place. Right.
If you truly wanted to really really protect this young man, he would have never stepped on the field ever again. Not for the rest, at least not for the rest of this season.
At least not for
the rest of this season. Saying, but this is the NFL. Again, this is modern day gladiators. So you don't get paid unless you're on the field.
And oh, by the way, it's even more pressure to put someone who has been concussed multiple times on the field when he is by far and away the reason why your team is competing for a playoff spot versus when he's off the field and they aren't. And it's messed up that's how not players. It's messed up. That's how organizations think, where it's, well, the immediate is more important. Yeah, we get extra money because we get the extra prestige of being on the playoff stage versus you might ruin a young man's life for the rest of it. If you keep having him take hits, he does not necessarily have to take.
How much, like, after that second one, how long do you really think it was going to take him to fully recover? Not the time span that they gave him.
I was going to say, in my opinion, never. I don't think he'll ever recover. I don't think he'll ever recover from that second. Definitely that second one. I don't think he'll ever recover from.
Never. Again, the medical science that we have says you never fully recover. You're never fully recovered, and that's why your brain is triggered. And again, we talked about this at length with Katie. Again, she's our medical expert, and she told us when you have a concussion, your brain is now conditioned to it's why you're more prone to get another concussion. Is your brain it's trying to save you.
Mm-hmm.
It feels the trauma, and when you get a first concussion, your brain is now triggered. Something's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes into protective mode and it shuts down. That's what happens. So every time you get a concussion, it gets more and more. It pushes that limit of something's going wrong, and that's when everything gets triggered. So he'll never be fully recovered.
So what do you think as a player in this situation, right? Would you retire and sue? Is this a situation where you would retire and file for negligence?
I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can sue because the union is absolutely. They have one of the worst contracts in the history of contracts.
I have said
not,
this.
Not sports.
I have said this. I've said this on my show and on this one. And on others, the labor union in football, the NFL Players Association, it is by far the worst labor organization.
They're for the
sports.
They're more. You would think they work for the owners instead of the fucking players.
Yes.
Seriously,
they are the worst labor organization in all the sports. And number 3 is such a far distance ahead of them. It's not even funny.
You would think it was they worked for the owners. They don't take any consideration for their players.
No.
Especially now.
Just consider this.
No.
Damar Hamlin has not played apparently he has not played enough years to where he can get medical clearance from his NFL contract.
Well, the Bills they just agreed to pay him the rest of his salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they agree. They agreed to it. They didn't have to, though.
No, they didn't. I know they didn't have to.
They didn't have to.
But they agreed.
They didn't have to. That's how messed up NFL contracts are.
No, and I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
So stupid.
I agree with you 100%. That's
like Cole just said, a guy's life could be ruined in one play, and you have to play a certain number of years. No,
he had to play a certain amount of games.
Field, you should get that protection immediately.
He had to play a certain amount of games just to get a certain amount of money this year, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So they're like, "Oh, we're gonna pay him regardless." Like that should have never been the question.
Here's how messed up. Here's how messed up all of this is with the NFLPA. So they had to come to an agreement with Damar Hamlin getting paid the rest of the year.
They have to come to an agreement. They
had to come to an agreement.
That's what kills me.
Yeah, they had to come to agreement with that. With Tua, you had the NFL and the NFLPA holding hands like they're long lost lovers, saying, "Well, we don't have any, we have absolving any blame of ourselves toward all of anything Tua Tagovailoa." I'm like, you all are out of your doggone minds. The way y'all handled it is the exact reason why you're in this situation. And that young man is basically having to make a lifetime decision of, dog, this lifetime wealth I thought I was going to have by playing 10 years, I might have to cut this off 7 years too soon. All because you didn't protect him when you needed to. And then if you were a player who did play enough games to qualify for a pension, when it comes to health insurance, 5 years after you retire, poof, gone.
Yeah, and how many times do we see guys not develop symptoms until 10, 15 years after?
Right.
I mean, Junior Seau comes to mind in the most tragic
ways,
the most tragic of cases. But he didn't develop symptoms until it happened.
Far into his retirement. Yeah,
and that was far and away. That was beyond the 5 years. But to get to Victor's point of the NFLPA is not in the owners. They're not in the owners' pockets. The problem is the NFLPA is as scattered as you can get. And when MLB, which has one of the best unions, when the MLB union makes a decision, the players are back. They back it lock, stock, and barrel. You never hear anybody step out of line and say, "No, I'm going to play." They go, "No, we're holding out for this, and everybody's not playing." You never hear anybody go, "No, I want to play." When the NFL strikes, you have guys going, "No, we're striking," and then you have 75% of the other guys going, "Well, no, I want to play."
Yeah, some want to strike, some want to play. That's exactly what happened in 1987. That's exactly what happened. And then the ones who wanted to play, of course, the players basically say, "Oh, you're scabs," and all of that type of thing, and they would label them as such. That's when they strike. When they have to deal with lockouts, they basically will bend over backwards just to get on the field. And I'm saying to myself, what is up with this? Or what is up with this union? How weak can you be? Going back to 2011, when the owners locked them out. And the owners locked them out because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were getting only 47% of the total revenue. And so they were like, yeah, we ain't liking that. We want to have the majority revenue pie. Locked them out. And I will never forget the picture that I saw. Then the NFLPA's president, Jeff Saturday, who now currently is the head coach of the Colts.
Oh, is he currently the head coach?
I haven't heard he's been fired yet.
He was the interim coach. He hasn't been hired.
I'm sorry.
So the season ended. So they have not hired a new coach. They need to hire him. Or
yeah. So he was lately the interim head coach of the Colts, but then he was the center for the Colts, and he was the president of the NFLPA. The dude was caught on camera in a live ceremony of when the players had a kumbaya moment with the owners. He walked up to Robert Kraft, crying and saying, "Mr. Kraft, we just want to play. We just want to get on the field and play." Meanwhile, they go from the players earning 53% of the revenue to 47%. Now it is 48.5% what they earn now. But the rush of wanting and needing to play supersedes the players' health, the players' money, and anything else that does not involve being on the field. And another example, when the NFL went from 16 to 17 games, you heard a lot of people, Richard Sherman being one of them, saying, this extra game, no, it shouldn't happen. So when they took it to vote, you had over 1,000 who voted for the 17th game. You had a little under 1,000 who voted against it. And you had 25% of the players not even cast a vote. That right there tells you how weak of a labor union you have in NFL. And you mentioned the NFL, you mentioned the Major League Baseball. That's the strongest one. Because if the players strike, the owners are like, oh, doggone it. And if they lock out the players, they're like, okay. They will dig in.
Yep.
They will dig in. And they will not capitulate to jack.
But it's also because it's because the NFL is such a diverse crowd, and you have players that can only rely on the NFL for their livelihood. I mean that's all they have. They don't have anything else to go back to that they can fall on. Major League Baseball, yeah, they have kids that don't want, but these kids can go do other, they can go do other things when they're on strike.
Right.
And you see that all the time. You see the guys at the top of Major League Baseball are fighting for the people at the bottom.
Yes.
The people in the NFL, they don't care. They don't care about the guy on the practice. They don't care about the guy on the practice squad. They could care less.
And it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned that. Don Fear was considered one of the biggest public enemies in terms of fandom. But I'm like, you all don't understand. This dude fought so hard for the players. The salaries they get now is because of him, and the way the game looks is partially because of him. You all should thank him. You all should thank him because the players aren't being taken advantage of. But of course, if he shows his face on any diamond, they boo him. I'm like, I have a huge amount of respect for him. Whereas you have DeMaurice Smith, who is the executive director of the Players Association, and it's like you want to ask him, what are you all doing? How can you justify what you put as a product on the field when we as fans can look at it and say these players are being raked over the coals? You have what I've heard players say, we go through 65 car wrecks in a week. You have this sport which is that physical, and we don't have that many fully guaranteed contracts in the NFL. Meanwhile, you have Major League Baseball, you have the NBA, and I think even NHL has this too, where you have guaranteed contracts.
Yes. Like this past season was the first time we've seen any of these contracts like for the NFL. Like Deshaun Watson getting that kind of guaranteed money is unheard of.
And you have owners like Steve Biscotti, and I love the fact that we actually are going into the Lamar Jackson realm, who 2 weeks after Deshaun Watson got that contract said, I can't see how anybody could actually earn that much in fully guaranteed money. This is one of the 32 owners of the product. And he is saying, nah, that's too much fully guaranteed. To the point where it was leaked out that they gave Lamar Jackson at most $133 million out of a possible 230. So I'm thinking this is going to be rough. And I think I think the Players Association should look at this, and I'm like, this is prime real estate for a lockout. Prime for a strike. This is prime real estate for a strike, because you all should not play another down until every player's contract should be fully guaranteed, because now you just saw a brother in arms basically pass out and had cardiac arrest on the field. And Sick, thank you for introducing Dave Durison. His story is horrendous. You would look at him. For those who don't know, he was a former Bears cornerback in the 85 Bears era, the 46 defense era. Mild-mannered, wonderful acting guy. I mean, everything was great, and he was a wonderful guy from all accounts. But because he had such problems with his brain, he'd switch to be the total opposite. And you would never see it coming. That's what his family said. And his son said it. You'd never see it coming. And because of those hits, he died a premature death too. And and you got these stories that litter football. Litter it. But the protection is not there. Make that make sense to me, NFLPA. Please.
They can't. There's nothing they can. They've. It just shows you, man. Like
they can't organize. They can't organize a strike. they just can't. Their members just won't do it. Then you'll have 75. Again, you'll have 75% of their people will say, "I don't care if we're on strike. I'm going to play." And
yeah. And that is a problem right there. I think if we all want to actually come to an understanding as to why the players union is so weak with the NFL, there you go. So many divergent interests that they can't come to terms with the fact that, yeah, we're being screwed and the owners are getting over, and we could be released and not get paid a doggone dime. So we won't even have severance packages.
Yeah.
But we can't come to an agreement saying that we deserve that because we literally put our bodies on the line for them. And that is not hyperbole. They do put their bodies on the line for the owners and for the entertainment of us. And the owners have an out if basically they are like a horse and they have a gimpy knee and they can put you out your misery.
Because they're not told these things. Players are not conditioned for these things. They don't. They go to the rookie symposium and they hear all this stuff and all this. They're not hearing what they need to hear, which is this is your career. You need to take this seriously. They take it as, I worked so hard to get here that I just want to play, and I just want to play and get paid as an NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need to. This is your career. This is your livelihood. Like, you need to treat it that way.
Yeah.
And so many players don't see it. They just see that they've worked that hard to get there, that they want to get some kind of payout out of it. Well, the trade off is you're trading the rest of your life and your freedom.
You're trading your life.
That's
for
what
that.
you're doing.
Yeah, you're literally trading your life for that. Exactly. Well said, man. Well said. Ryan says that MLB has the best union, hands down to me. You need only to play a handful of games, and you get a lifetime benefits, including medical. That is precisely my point. That is why I have such profound respect and eternal respect for Donald Fear, because he saw that. He saw the players need to be better taken care of, and he fought for it, and they got it.
So now Donald Fear is applying his trade in the NHL.
And now he is going to the NHL, and he's doing some of the similar things there as he did with MLB. Exactly. And they're going to benefit from him too, because that is what they need. They need to have that protection. They need that. Six says, and those former players took their lives. Junior Seau, Dave Durison. They even said that Walter Payton suffered from a little CTE too. They would leave a note asking to have their brains examined for CTE. Yeah. Because they knew before they died. They knew long before they died. They knew when they were playing. And I know they probably heard from medical professionals when they were playing. Yeah. When you couldn't remember from this date to this date, yeah, you were concussed. And you would help the generations down the line if you have your brain examined, if you were to pass. And yeah, and I remember reading on Bubba Smith's passing that he suffered from CTE too. Of course, he was a former NFL player, if I'm not mistaken, former NFLPA president too, way back. Yeah, he was found to have CTE at the request of his estate too. Yeah.
I wonder how many players now, like, retired now, if you were to do an exam on them, would qualify?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. That really is a good question.
And there's some players I know. You look at them, you're like, yeah.
There's something wrong with you, bro. I hate to say that, but there's something wrong with you. Yeah. Ryan says the NFL needs a Donald Fear type executive to take care of the negotiations. One of the best negotiators I think we have seen in the sports sphere is him. DeMar Smith definitely is not the guy. And the funny thing is he's a lawyer. You would think that he would be perfectly suited for this role. And it's as if he's a puppet. It's as if he is a shield puppet, the way he operates and moves. And I'm trying not to say that, but how could you not see it?
And he's a terrible face. He's a terrible face for the organization, for the NFLPA.
Yes.
Like every time he goes on, a show on ESPN or anytime he makes a statement, he just makes a complete fool out of himself.
It's embarrassing.
I don't understand it.
It's embarrassing.
It's every single time.
It's embarrassing. Yeah. It's embarrassing when I see him in front of a camera. It's like, come on, man. You got to find a way to unite these people because you know their rights are not being fully represented as an NFL player. You know it. You see it. You are in law, and you can't get them to see that.
I mean, remember we had this conversation over the summer when DeMar Smith came out and said he wasn't even going to challenge the Deshaun Watson suspension.
Right.
Didn't even. No, we're not even gonna. No, we don't care. Wait, what? You're the union representative. You're supposed to care about these things.
Yes. You were the executive director of this union. I mean, the first person that Deshaun Watson should go to would be you, and you mean to tell me that this is your stance?
Yeah, and your stance is well, whatever they give him, we're gonna just take it. Wait, what? No, Deshaun Watson's supposed to go. Wait, I don't agree with this. I want to fight this. He needs to go to you and say, you need to go fight this because you're the guy that's supposed to fight it. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
What?
Agreed.
You preemptively cut his legs out from underneath him.
Yeah. And because of it, you have silenced him because he has said very little ever since that ruling from the NFLPA came down to him. I'm like, oh, wow, that's sad. Victor said a lot of players see the pot at the end of the rainbow and not the torrential rainstorm before the rainbow, or ignore it because they do see it. I'm thinking many of them ignore it because they say, well, I got such amount of time, especially when they're in college because they're on that grind to get to the pros because they're thinking, oh, heck, I'm 18, 19, 20. They say that, if you're a running back, I got 4 prime years when I get into the NFL. If I'm playing another position, it's my 8, 9, or 10. So I can see myself getting a whole good chunk of change. Like I can get that rookie deal and get that big deal afterwards. And I could set myself and my family up for life. And when I get to the other side of 30, then I can start thinking about the rest of my life. That's how these players think. But they have to understand that you might not get there. Like Tua is not going to get there, unfortunately.
And that's why the guy that they need to have at the rookie symposium, and this is Cowboys 49ers week, but the guy they need to have is Patrick Willis. Because Patrick Willis
retired at 30, right?
At age 30, he retired after watching Navarro Bowman break his leg in the middle of the end zone, and Patrick Willis was like, "Nah, I'm good. I've made enough money. I've invested in enough things," and he runs tech companies now out in California. Like he is doing so many wonderful things right now.
That's the thing. They're not taught that. They're not taught. Take your money and invest it, and no, what they do is they go out, buy the cars, buy the homes,
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. The
trick
guy
off the
that
dough.
needs to be talking to people is Patrick Willis, because Patrick Willis did it right. He did it right, and don't get me wrong, he played with reckless abandonment when he was out on the field.
He was an awesome middle linebacker.
But he was smart enough to say, "This ain't that." I have way too many. I have way too many more things to add to this world. I don't need to waste it on a football field.
He was smart enough to realize, like, I'm not wasting the prime years
in my life
than not be able to enjoy the riches of what I've done.
Yeah.
It makes no.
And look, and Patrick's doing wonderful now. And that was a great decision by him. I miss him having to play the next 4 or 5 years, but hey, if his quality of life is better because of it, I'm so much happier for him because of it.
But us as fans, we don't see that. We're like, oh man, I can't believe he quit. Oh man, he's a quitter. Oh no, not necessarily. He thought about his future and he thought about his family. I understand you're a fan. You paid your money to see these players play. But they're human beings as well. They have a future that they need, and that's where we go back to the gladiator thing. Like, they're just entertainment.
No, quitting is walking off the field like Antonio Brown did. Retiring is what Patrick Willis did. He gave his all, and he said, "You know what? I got better things to do." And
same thing with
nothing bad you could say about that.
Same thing with Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
like I'm not going to taking his abuse. I got to think of my family and myself first.
This makes I'm glad you mentioned him. So I was actually in the newsroom when he actually retired, and the amount of derision that he received once he got onto the field at Lucas Oil Stadium, and the boos that Colts fan gave him, I'm like, you all have no heart. This guy missed time due to a myriad of injuries, and probably concussions, one of them. Missed time for a myriad of injuries. You knew that the Colts had no offensive line when he got drafted, and didn't put an offensive line around him once your team got good under him, being him under center. And because he gave his all and he can't really give any more, you all are going to be like selfish and say, boo, traitor. I'm like, man, come on. He gave you all he could give. It was just at that moment, he was like, that's it.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. And I can't fault him for it. And I don't fault him for it now.
And again, Andrew Luck, Stanford grad, father, head of the USFL or XFL, one of those things. Like
Oliver Luck, head of the USFL. Yeah.
You know, he's
XFL. He was the head of the XFL, and him and Vince are in a lawsuit. So we'll see.
That's right.
Yeah, he's so again, good head on his shoulders, and he's like, wait, I want to use my Stanford degree.
Here's what's funny about that. So I think he was interviewed his second year in NFL, and he actually boldly said, yeah, I'm not going to be in NFL for too much longer, because I actually went to school to become an engineer. So I want to actually apply that, being still that I am of sound mind and body and in my youth. Yeah. So I'll give you some for a time, but I'm not a football player. I love to play, but I'm going to use that, like you said, I'm going to use that Stanford degree and I'm going to become an engineer. And that's exactly what he's doing now. That and being a businessman and investor.
The same thing with the guard for the Chiefs that quit football during COVID because he had a medical degree, and he went into using that to be a nurse and be a doctor and go fight COVID. Like that's right. He was like, no, I have a bigger calling than football.
And yeah. And of course, thankfully now I have the maturity to appreciate it now. And it's great. And I'm glad that I'm glad that there are more examples like that, and I agree with the both of you. If you want to parade examples in rookie symposiums, parade a Patrick Willis and an Andrew Locke to them to say that, okay, it's great that you have this life now, and it's great that you have the ability to play football now, but you might have to start thinking about life after football right now. Start saving up your coins, start investing in certain things, and you could be like me. And I think they need to hear more of those messages, and less of and less of don't be a hoe and don't and 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 be a responsible teammate.
Yeah.
Heck, they got that. They knew this in college. They knew this in high school. They knew all of that. Ryan, he says, if you watch 30 for 30 about the 85 Bears, Jim McMahon receives the same treatment to flush out spinal fluid built up in his brain. I wonder if the NFL would endorse that kind of treatment post-career. When I heard his story, it was horrifying for me. Horrifying for me because he actually said there are times in his NFL career he cannot remember it. And then there's times post NFL career he can't remember. He just blacks out. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, that man took a whole lot of abuse, and for those who didn't see it, so about December 1986, he dropped back through a pass. It was against the Packers. Defensive tackle Charles Martin basically bear hugged him from behind, lifted him up, and drove him face first into the Soldier Field turf. He wasn't the same ever since that. And that was after he was in the league for a few years, and he took a few good shots too before then. But that was the hit that made him actually just simply have his life just go off kilter. And you have this one story, and I'm sure you can pick somebody in his era who would probably have similar stories to tell about how the game did not pay him back properly for the equity that they put, the sweat equity that he put out on the field. And these owners and these organizations and the NFL itself, they need to actually step up to the plate and say, you play for us, you are treasures for us.
They should listen. They should, once you play in the NFL, it's like if you run for Congress or a Senate and you have lifetime benefits, right?
Yeah.
I think if you play in the NFL, you should have medical coverage for the rest of your life.
100.
That's you've put in the time. Yeah, you've laid the foundation for these owners to make billions
of dollars a year.
Billions. So you telling me you can't flip the bill for these players? That's where the player association mess up.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they messed up. You should be getting some of these players in their contracts and these benefit packages, lifetime medical insurance for you and your family.
Yet you parade the Pro Football Hall of Famers as if you actually do give a crap about them.
And they don't.
Every August, they look cool in their yellow jackets, and you get to hear the stories of the guys who were newly inducted, and you get to hear some stories of those who passed away, and those who have probably been in the Hall of Fame for about 30, 40 years. And you show the allure of, wow, this sport is so vaunted. This sport is so valuable. And you got so many wonderful caretakers of the sport.
And the
NFL doesn't care about their former players.
And it's funny because when a player sits out because they want more money, the first person to play this fans attack is the players.
It's the player.
It's the player. Like, oh, you spoiled brat.
You make millions of dollars. How dare you actually have the audacity to sit on your bump?
No.
No.
And I was one of
Take
those.
care
I'm
of
not gonna lie, I was one of those. But after realizing all the stuff that they go through, get your money, bro.
Yeah.
Get your money.
No, I've never subscribed that. If a guy wants to hold out for more money, by all means, everybody wants more money. Like
Get your
that.
money. Yeah, like
I
get your
never
money.
understood fans who are like, "Why does he want more money?" Everybody wants more money, and if you're giving your body for it, you that's the only thing you can do. It's the only thing they have. The only thing they have is their ability to be on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of the Hall of Fame, can we get Albert Lewis into the Hall of Fame, please? Like, I know that vote is coming up because they always announce it right before the Super Bowl. Like, Albert Lewis deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think it's his last year on the ballot. This guy was amazing. And, I mean, this guy was Deion Sanders before Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that does need to happen. Oh, sick. Yeah. Refresh my memory on your question. I know
military
you.
service.
Yeah, I know you. I know it was a declarative statement you put. I think you said, yeah, and I did serve. Yeah, that I did do.
He said something about soldiers in CTE.
Yeah, imagine how many. Yeah, and I remember you asked me this question another time. I said, I couldn't tell you how many. I mean, seriously, I couldn't tell you how many. I mean, because there's so many other ways that you can get CTE, even as a military member. And of course, PTSD. That was more often the syndrome, I should say, that people were guarding against when I served, that you would want to have, because I came in right after Desert Storm, right after, like about maybe 2-3 months after. So, you had so many soldiers who, and I mean, no matter the rank, it could be the privates, it could be the specialists, it could be the sergeants, it could be the first sergeants and the sergeant majors, it could have been any of the officers, didn't matter. You had so many who needed to have psychological treatment and psychiatric care because of the things that they saw, and even that short window, and how it would mess up people's minds. Because what people don't understand is most of those soldiers, airmen, Marines, seamen, you're dealing with young adults that are only 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And you can see some horrific things when you're out in the theater. So imagine if you were our ages and seeing that now. I mean, yeah, we're maybe a little more hardened, but you don't want to see that on a daily basis. Well, imagine seeing that as a young adult. So PTSD was huge. Having to be near a landmine and you get blown and you're still alive, but you hit the ground hard. CTE. And that happened to a couple that I knew in my unit, and a couple outside of my unit. So yeah, it's prominent even in the military. And they didn't talk about concussions then in the military. They're talking about it a little more now, of course, but they weren't. They weren't, because the mindset was, oh, you just got your bell rung. Yeah, just shake it off. Yeah,
It's interesting that name Victor brings up down there, Chris Nowinski.
Yeah, former WWE wrestler and former football player.
You realize he was vilified
hard
when he came out, because he's the one that came out and said and he didn't defend Chris Benoit, but he said this guy suffered from CTE, and he said he was the first one to say it, and they jumped on him. No, Benoit was just evil and blah blah blah, and and Chris Nowinski was like, no, he had concussions.
Yeah, the concussions.
Many. He said it was the concussions. That's what did it.
What did it. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when he first said it, everybody was like, you're trying to give him an excuse. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do that. And he was like, no, I'm just giving you the medical facts.
And then when they explored Benoit's brain, that's exactly what happened. He suffered from CTE. Go ahead. I got to step away for a sec.
Yep. Oh man.
So, what's up, boss? So, what do you got coming up on the show this week, wise?
I don't have. Well, probably J and Y's. We touch on the Dana White situation. I guess, yeah. You got to look at Poppy's take on it. It's funny, so that's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I haven't seen the video, but from what he tells me, she slapped him first.
I just heard the reaction from Dana White, and I just you can't say those things. not in today's world. You can't.
You have to catch the show and see what Poppy says. But yeah, it.
Oh, doggone it! I missed it. Oh man, I missed it.
No, we were just talking about the Dana White situation.
Oh gosh, man. Don't get me started on Dana White.
I mean, you can't make that up. But hey, Dana White, he's got some stones for saying it in 2023.
Yeah,
because that's committing career suicide right there.
But yeah, if you're I don't know if he's a billionaire yet, but if you're a multimillionaire like him.
Oh, he's definitely a billionaire.
I would think he is now, but I'm not totally sure. But yeah,
I mean, in assets alone, he's got to be a billionaire. He owns his own island. Like he can do his own UFC. He could have people just fly to his island and fight there.
Look at the price that they bought the UFC to what they made it now.
Oh yeah,
he's loaded, man. He is loaded.
Yeah. Ryan says, World War I, it was called shell shock. Now we call it CTE. Yeah. And it's funny. It's funny how we advance a whole century like that. And as far as Quista Nowinski is concerned, he was also a football player too. Not the pros, but in college.
He played at college.
Yeah.
I think it was Stanford. Was it Stanford?
No, Harvard.
I know he played in one of those brainiac schools.
Yeah. So he's a brainiac, which I respect him. And people in the wrestling world was assuming that his character, which was a heel or bad guy, was his own self. So when he basically bowed out and said, yeah, when I suffered my concussion, I had to bow out, and this is why. Yeah, people were basically booing him like he was playing a character, and it's like, no, he's not playing the character. that dude got seriously hurt, and he wants to make sure others don't, like he did.
Yeah, listen,
I respect him for it.
So listen, when they go, "Oh, wrestling is fake," okay, yes, it's scripted. It's not fake.
It's
scripted.
It's scripted, and some of it's choreographed.
The outcomes are decided.
Yeah,
the outcomes are decided.
Are scripted, but the moves that they perform,
and sometimes it's choreographed. But
the moves that they perform,
you can't fake
bumps. You cannot fake.
You can't fake jumping off. You can't fake jumping off the top rope.
No, taking bumps is not something you can fake.
No.
Yeah.
Taking bumps is not something you can fake.
No. No, that's something you can't fake.
No.
And when people want to insult the art of professional wrestling by that, I'm like, I guess you have never, like you said, taken a bump. I guess you never have taken chops. I have. I guess you haven't taken a punch that's worked, but it actually connects with you. Yeah. And I don't mean one that's just in the air. I mean one where
it connects.
One where it connects. It hurts. I know this from experience. It hurts. So I don't insult wrestlers and saying, "Oh yeah, it's fake." No. Now some of it may be choreographed, but it's not faked.
And I mean, you know, for people that say that, you know, I've watched wrestling my entire life. Still watch wrestling to this day. And people say, why do you watch it? It's fake. I'm like, I know it's fake. I've known it's fake since I started watching it, and I watched a guy totally miss a punch and knock a guy out. And I was like,
Right.
okay, all right. But it's okay. I don't watch it because oh, these guys are fighting. I watch it because I'm like, oh, all right.
I watch it because storytelling.
I watch enough stuff where I see fake fights. I'd rather watch it in a ring.
Yeah. It's like Wise, you actually said it. I've actually said wrestling is basically a male version of a soap opera.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's something I always say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a soap opera with fighting breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's all it is, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and when the writing's done well, heck yeah, it's great entertainment. Great entertainment.
Yes, it is.
Ryan says, and now, if a pro wrestler suffers a head injury while in action, they're off the road for about 4 weeks, no exceptions. I'm trying to remember, when did that start? I think it started when WWE started to see, not even Chris Nowinski. I think it started when WWE started to have one wrestler after another die. And they're like, okay, I think there's more to it than this. And we can't just say, well, they're dying because they're addicted to coke. There's more to it than this, and I think that's when it started. And then, of course, it continued when wrestlers would talk about, okay, well, they would take chair shots at the head, and it'd say, "You're not operating the way you're supposed to. You're missing your cues here and there." And so now I'm glad that pro wrestling is saying, okay, we're going to be a little more proactive and err on the side of caution than basically say, yeah, you're good, the show goes on type of thing.
Yeah, but there's still independent contractors, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
And
make
you
it
still have that there, right?
And then now they're working on towards the fact that yes, they're independent contractors, so they should have the non-complete clauses should be thrown out.
Clauses. Yeah,
they should be thrown out because if you're in NXT and you get released by WWE, it's a 30-day non-complete clause. But if you're in the main roster, it's 90 days.
Right.
So you're telling me for 3 months, this person cannot earn money because you've decided to release them, right?
Yeah.
Which is nonsense. Because if you get released in the NBA or any other place, once you clear waivers, you can sign anywhere you want to sign.
That's what it should be. But yeah,
so this 90-day non-compete clause is ridiculous. It's like you're taking money out of their pocket, but you've the one decided to release them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't agree with that. That's something I think, and I hear Congress is going to vote on that. That's something that they're going to vote on.
Yeah,
which would be great because once you release a star, you should not be able to control it. He's an independent contractor. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't have the control to tell them, hey, no, you can't compete over here because they're
months after, even days after you no longer work for them. Yeah.
Once you release them, they should be free agents. It's over. They can go sign any. If you didn't want them to sign with AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling or whatever, Impact or whatever, then you shouldn't have released them. Sign them and keep them at home.
That all stems from the Montreal screw job. That's that's where that 90-day thing comes from. When Bret Hart did the WCW in the middle of a WWE ring, and then he basically laid it all out, laid everything out. That's when they started that 90-day non-compete thing because they were like, this is ridiculous. You can't just leave and go to WCW.
Well, you got to look at the situations with because WWE was pre-recorded, WCW was live. You have the moment where Medusa, Alundra Blaze, appears on WCW, the WWE champion, women's champion, and drops the belt in the garbage. You have Hall and Nash pop up, and people still thinking that they're under contract with WWE, but it's a work. They're really signed to WCW.
Or the pre-recorded Raw days. I always find this funny. So
and then
there
Eric
was a
Bischoff would read the
oh god, yeah, Eric Bischoff read the results on Nitro
on the air.
I always thought that was funny. But no, I was thinking about when they were still pre-recording Raw, and of course Nitro was always live, and you had Rick Rude on both shows on the same night.
Yeah, the Rick Rude situation. Yes.
I was like, oh man. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Montreal screw job was why the 90-day no compete clause was instituted by WWE. But I'm with you, Wise. If you're going to basically say, you're no longer employed by us and you're an independent contractor, I'm thinking independent contractor means I'm free to go wherever I can.
Yes.
Wherever I want to go. So the minute after I hear we wish you good luck in your future endeavors, it should be the moment I set foot outside of a WWE building or office. Okay.
I'm a free agent.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm a free agent. Okay. So, all right. TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW, anybody. I work with any. And now we're starting to see, especially with AEW talent, well, I work with all of you. You know,
it works, and not to get it wrong. It works both. It works both ways. So it's not exclusive to the WWE, because when Cody Rhodes left AEW, he had to wait the 90 days till he could jump to Raw.
Well, that's that, but that was why.
So it's not just it's not just the WWE like saying, oh, only the WWE does this. They all do that. It's to protect their image. It's to protect their brand.
Yeah, but once you release them, once it's your choice to release them, it should be that non-compete clause should just be thrown out the window. Like if you really don't want them a part of your brand and your federation or whatever, then that's your decision. Now you're hindering this person from getting a job somewhere else because you tell them they can't compete for 90 days.
Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. You and I are thinking the same on the same line wavelength. Cool. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Where was I here? Here we go. 6 says, I remember when Enzo Amore suffered a concussion during a pay-per-view match. They worked into a storyline. I remember that too.
Wrong name to bring up. Enzo Amore had many more issues than concussions.
But we discovered he had many more issues after the concussion he suffered.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sick also says the chair shots just hurt, man. Especially the Hardcore Extreme Rules match and cage match and ladder matches, TLC, Hell in a Cell, etc. Injuries are abound. Yeah. Yeah. And Ryan says, when pro wrestling is done well, it can tell a great story. Unfortunately, the art has been kind of lost with the advent of social media and instant gratification. Yeah. And a lot of spot fest matches because of that. Yeah. 6 says, Chris Benoit's father Michael did a media circuit raising awareness about CTE after Chris's death, and his son too. Not necessarily as dominant as his father, but when you interview his son, he mentions that too, and basically making the son that survived and wasn't in that horrific.
His older son, yes,
the older son, the son that wasn't a product of a woman or Nancy. Victor says, look, the character storylines, those are the reason why I like it. Same reason for me too. 6 says in WWE, performers are independent contractors in name only.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the WWE puts in the trademark.
Mm-hmm.
So they own whatever name that they go in. So that's why they don't like for these independent artists to come in with their name.
Right.
Because then they don't own that
they don't
trademark.
own the trademark. Mm-hmm.
Saying so they don't have. So now case in point, recently Santino Marella, the WWE didn't renew their trademark on that, so he was able to trademark it, and now he uses it on Impact. So that's why a lot of reasons they don't want these independent stars to use their names, because they don't have control over that name.
Right. And the WWE hated it when that happened to them, because I don't think they started to really go whole hard and ham on trademarking names until Hulk Hogan left. Still stuck with Hulk Hogan and went to WCW as Hulk Hogan. And then they started to trademark every single creation they made. Every last one of them.
Yeah.
Victor says it's weird. It's a weird clause because talking about the 90-day or 30-day even no compete clause, because it seems like the no compete clause leaves a window for WWE to reconsider the release and want the wrestler to come back. But then why release them if you weren't sure? It might be a budgetary cut, and I think that might be the case too with some of these. You never know. 6 says WCW was offering more money and better workload compared to WWE during the Monday Night Wars.
Yes, they were.
For example, I think in WWE during the time you would actually have to be on the road, I think at least during the days out the year, I think. Versus the WCW workload was probably 180. I think it was something along those ridiculous lines like that. He says, I remember the difference was Raw. Rude was on a 5 o'clock shadow with Raw. Well, naturally, it was freshly shaved and a neat mustache. Yeah. That's correct. Ryan says, when WWE purchased WCW, several wrestlers just stayed home and let their WCW contracts expire before coming to WWE. Sting being one of them. Because that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I was like, that's exactly what Sting did.
Yeah, there were certain contracts that they just were not buying out. WWE was not buying those contracts out.
Right. And thank you, David. I couldn't for the life of me think of
David Benoit. Yes.
Yeah, his older son's name. Thank you, Sick. I appreciate that. Victor says, I feel bad for Chris's son, David, because he was shunned by WWE because of his dad. Yeah. As soon as they heard it was a murder-suicide, man, WWE was like, we wanted to have nothing to do with anything Chris Benoit, even if it is family members that had nothing to do with his death.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the if you're looking for something to watch, the Dark Side of the Ring, the 2-part episode on Chris Benoit is
beautifully done. Yeah,
fantastic. It's amazing, and they go into all the detail. They get into all the CTEs. They bring everything up, and that's how it should be. They just leave it all out there, and you decide what you want to take. I thought it was a fascinating documentary.
It was. I saw it too. It was fascinating. Cool says WWE was tripping hard. They were tripping hard with steroids during the early 90s.
What's this word? I mean, have you seen these guys lately?
Well, they might still be tripping, but they definitely were tripping hard in the 80s and early 90s with it. I mean, you look at Paul Orndorff, prime example.
Mr. Wonderful.
Dude, Mr. Wonderful was ripped and cut, and he looked absolutely beautiful. But because he took steroids one too many times, one side of his body atrophied. And speaking of atrophy, the same thing happened with Lex Luger.
Yeah, he's in the wheelchair now. Yeah,
he now is in a wheelchair. Yeah, sad. Daniel was a son from Chris Benoit's marriage to Nancy, correct. He's the one who died with Nancy and Chris, correct. Cool says, Triple H has improved WWE, but I still prefer AEW. I prefer AEW to a point. And the reason why I say to a point, I thought for a good while with AEW, the action tended to, and the decisions tended to lean toward the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And of course, for those who don't know, I don't know if they have been discontinued, but from what I can remember, at least until All Out of last year, which is August. The entities I just mentioned were executive vice presidents of the company. So I was seeing a lot of conflict of interest with them and the decisions they made.
A lot of politics. It's all politics.
Yeah,
Because now look at all the superstars that went from WWE right to AEW. Miro.
Yeah. Oh God.
He's not getting the same push he was.
And he was killing it at AEW.
Miro's still not getting the same push. Sean Spears.
Another one.
No longer.
Sean Spears is fantastic.
I love him. I love Sean Spears. And I think the crowd loves him too. But yeah, you hear high nor hear from him.
He's not getting the same push. For a minute, the House of Black was they were getting a hot push, and then I don't know, but now they're getting that push back again. Christian Cage, I know he's injured. You haven't seen him lately, but there's FTR, one of the best tag teams in the world,
ever. One of the best tag teams I've ever seen.
You're not getting the push that they deserve in that in AEW.
AEW grew too fast. They grew way too quickly. They just were basically, there was like a month where they were just taking on every single star that got cut from the WWE. They were just taking them up, and the roster just filled up.
They will find. They will sign the players.
You don't have room. You don't have room. You have a 2-hour program. Like,
that's why they had Dark. They created Dark Elevations and all Rampage and all this other stuff. But to me, they're just not. You're not given. You've built up this roster so big now that there's people getting wild. They're just not getting the same shine they were before. Private Party, prime example. When AEW was just starting, they were one of the main tag teams.
Yeah,
you would you hear so much about Private Party doing the stuff that amazing stuff that they're doing.
And
now they're regulated. Now they're regulated to dark matches.
Yeah, and you don't hear anything.
Or elevation matches.
Right. Yeah, you hear nothing from them. Yeah. That's the issue I have with AEW. It's just they have so much talent that it's like you don't know what to do with it.
And the presentation of AEW is just so much better. I mean, it's so much better than the presentation on Rodman. I mean, you guys talked about it yesterday. What is WWE had? They have Pat McAfee calling matches. I mean,
well, they had Pat McAfee.
They had Pat McAfee. They had Pat McAfee calling matches, and that was their draw. You had AEW, you've got Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Come on.
Yeah.
You can't compete with it. You can't compete with that.
Yeah. And actually Excalibur's grown on me. I actually have to admit, he's grown on me. I didn't like him at first, but he's grown on me. Victor says, talking about the Dark Side of the Ring episode, he said that was such a heartbreaking episode because Nancy's sister wasn't even allowed to get in contact with anyone on Chris's side of the family and vice versa. But it was great to see David hug his aunt. Yeah. Well told and heartbreaking story. I agree. Cool says Perry Sander, one of my favorites back in the day, was homeless and crazy for a while. Yeah.
Just the Radicals.
Yeah, one of the 4 Radicals. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Man,
they were the first to make the jump from WCW to WWE.
WWE.
When everybody was doing this jump the other way.
6 says Paul Orndorff suffered the atrophy in his arm from a neck injury he delayed to fix, resulting in serious nerve damage. True, that is true, but it was also exacerbated by steroid use too. It's all from bad booking and backstage politics in AEW. CM Punk and FTR have been buried. Well, in my opinion, CM Punk, I think, buried himself by basically playing police of the organization and putting it out on the front street.
Yeah, that what CM Punk did was stupid.
Yeah.
It just you just threw a bunch of people you work with under the bus, and you just made yourself look like a big ass douchebag. So
yeah, Yeah. And it's like, okay, so not saying that what you didn't say is false. I'm sure all that is true.
Yes.
But you
it should
made
have been
yourself
kept in
look.
house.
It should have been kept in house because you made yourself look worse.
Especially the Cole Cabana situation. Nobody had asked any questions about that situation. The comment they said had nothing to do with he decided he wanted to include all that extra comment about Cole Cabana and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you made yourself look worse than you possibly could make Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks look. And oh, by the way, yes, you throw Cole Cabana under the bus hard, and nobody asked about it.
Yeah.
And to Six's most recent comment, be careful. Jim Cornette is he's an interesting guy, but he's basically stuck in the 1980s. I mean, he wants all wrestling to be basically what it was in the 80s. Well, that's what Jim Cornette wants.
If you could take him with that grain of salt right there, he's entertaining. I love Cornette. But I have to understand that, yes, he wants it to be back when he was the manager of Midnight Express and Bubba Rogers. He wants the business to be back into that time period. And I understand that. So he has a lot of get off my lawn old man takes. Once I'm settled with that, I'm like, I could take Jim Cornette's critiques because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But if you were to basically be like, man, this old man sucks, I can't stand him. Yeah. I can see how Cornette would be a turnoff to many people. Because his critiques can be quite harsh sometimes, to the point where it's like, Jim,
his critiques are fun. His critiques are fun, but when you break them down, you're like, Jim, it's 2023. It's not 1984 anymore.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You've been in the business. I know you heard many who were in the business in the heyday was in the 60s say your product sucks in the 80s. I know you heard that. So you understand how it is if you were to come across doing the same thing now, but you want the product to be how it reflected when you were a hot manager in the business.
It's evolved. Time has changed, man. It's definitely changed. And that's where some people lose touch with it. Is you have to roll with the times, man. You have to roll with the shit. As much even as with some of us in our beloved sports and stuff the Seattle Seahawks the Seattle Sonics are no longer. They're the Oklahoma Thunder. We have to let go of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, have to.
And you need that bounce. Like, I know Jim Cornette hates Vince Russo with a passion, but you needed that other voice in the room to say, "All right, let's get a middle ground. Let's get a middle ground. We can keep it old school. We can do some new school stuff, and we can mold them together." And that's when the product was amazing. In the 90s was when you had the new school thoughts with old school techniques.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you added the Jerry Springer aspect of it to wrestling, that's when it was really fun as hell.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing. Most people don't mention this, but I will. That was the greatness of Vince McMahon. A lot of people thought Vince McMahon it was my way or the highway. No, Vince McMahon was tell me everything. I'll figure
works.
it out.
Yeah, and what will work, that's what we'll roll with. And to me, that was the Attitude Era right there in a nutshell. Yeah, I want to hear all the ideas and what will work. This is what we'll roll with.
And that's what you don't have. You don't have that anymore. You don't have that in. I mean, this is outside of wrestling. You don't have that in entertainment anymore. Mm-hmm. Entertainment is all one-sided. It's all we're doing this and that's it. We're not like it's so bad now that it's so into just nope. You're doing what I say, or you're doing what's trending, or you're doing what's going to play for Twitter, what's going to play for this, that, or the other thing, and it's not all right. What worked? What used to work? Well, let's try some of that, and let's use the new technology, use the new platforms. Let's work those in, but keep everything, keep the traditions that we have.
And bringing it back to
all
wrestling.
All entertainment right. is just becoming, nope, let's rip. Right. Nope, old traditions are bad, and we're gonna rip them apart.
And to bring wrestling back into what you just said, I think the reason why you don't like, or I should say that you have a reticence toward how WWE looks now is because of what you just said. It's we're going to do it this way. We're not going to do it traditionally. We're going to do it this way. And if you don't like it, tough. And you see it out in the product. Now with Triple H, you're seeing a little bit of that being bucked, but not a lot.
No, because you know what
Not
it
a
is.
lot.
He's actually giving wrestlers a little bit more creative control with their characters.
Yeah, now
not
that
too
I like.
much.
Yeah,
but he's
yeah.
giving them enough to let them make the characters their own.
Mhm.
Whereas Vince, this is how I want the character.
Right.
This is how the character is going to be, unless you're someone like Stone Cold or The Rock,
Yeah,
where he has that trust in you, and he goes, "Here you go.
All right, here's the mic.
This is your character. Do what
Yeah.
you do."
Mm-hmm.
I feel that's why a lot of these wrestlers are coming back, because they've built that relationship with Triple H at NXT, where he let them be themselves, let them be that character, let them have a little bit more creative control over it. Because it's great to have all these writers and all these stories, but let these wrestlers give their input. They're the ones who are playing these characters, so they
Right.
might want to know where direction this character might want to go.
And they may have a better sense of where the character is supposed to go than you as a writer of the character are, because they're living it. And I'm sure they got the ideas of, if she were to do this or if he were to do that, I think it would be better if ... Yeah, totally. Six says, wasn't it brought up by Anna Page and the Elite in the first place, especially after the Lisa dirt sheets?
Well,
actually, it was
Adam Page. All Adam Page really said was he doesn't really take advice from veterans. He says if they sit down and they talk to him, yeah, that's cool and everything, but he doesn't go solicit their advice. He doesn't go out and go sit down with a veteran and be like, "Hey, can you have anything?" He says, for the most part, I want to learn.
Mm-hmm. And what CM Punk took umbrage to was that same energy was brought with Page to the ring when, of course, Page was AEW champion and Punk was to oppose him, and a lot of that energy actually spilled out into a promo, between the two, and so of course that's what chapped Punk's hide toward Page, but he tried to spin it as opposite. And I'm sure the bad feelings are still there. Oh my. Victor says CM Punk has always been a whiny baby. Burr baby. I mean, Burr because he hated Vince and Triple H and John Cena so much. Well, he didn't really hate John Cena really all that much. People got behind him. He basically hated Vince and Triple H a lot. He worked with John Cena. He liked him, actually.
And that's just what you get from a lot of people about John Cena, is that they love working with him.
Yeah,
John has no problem putting someone over.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have that ego.
He doesn't have the ego. And CM Punk and Randy Orton are two of the biggest proponents of John Cena. I don't think I've heard maybe one or two who have put over John Cena harder or better or bigger than Punk and Orton. Maybe Shawn Michaels.
Even the Taker had a moment with Cena where they had their match at WrestleMania, and the Taker talks about his daughter being a big
Cena
John Cena fan, and him having to squash Cena in 5 minutes. And so what Cena did afterwards was he went and consoled us, like, I said some real bad things about your dad, so it was a good thing that he did kick my butt the way he did. But that's who John Cena is.
Yeah. So giving. He's such a giving guy. And you don't expect a face of a league or an organization to be that selfless.
Yeah.
And that, to me, people talk about Super Cena, but to me, Super Cena's biggest strength is that he was probably one of the most selfless faces that I've ever seen in wrestling history.
Yeah.
And I don't mean face as in baby face heel. I mean face as in the guy that sells the product.
He was, he for many years. He's the one who carried carried WWE on his shoulders.
Well, because he did everything. I mean,
Yeah.
but he's the quintessential example. He broke in as the doctor of thugonomics.
He broke in as the
when that wasn't
prototype.
working, they were like, nah, you need to go back to straight lace. Like, go back, do your thing.
He broke in as the prototype, and then that's when he came out, smacked Angle with ruthless aggression.
But he didn't call him a prototype when he got into the roster, right?
Yeah, and then later on, he broke into he was on the point where he probably was going to get fired.
Yeah, he was
languishing. If he couldn't find his niche, and from the story he says is Stephanie heard him. He heard some guys in the back, Rikishi and them rapping and all that, and he decided to join the freestyle. And Stephanie heard that, and she says, "Can you do that on the mic?" And that's where the Thugonomics came out. Yeah.
And that saved his career.
It did.
Yeah. Part of me wishes he stayed with that, but yeah.
You have to evolve.
But you have to evolve, yeah.
You have to evolve your character after a while. That's why The Undertaker was so great. He evolved that character. Same thing with Mick Foley. He evolved so many different times. Sting evolved. You see everyone.
Jericho,
evolved. Yeah. Jericho's the master of it.
Yeah, Jericho is the greatest master of doing that.
The thing that makes Cena great is that, but that was Cena before he was in the WWE.
He got to be him. So the Thugonomics was him. That was who he was. That's how he dressed.
He was my football coach when I was in college. So I knew him before. I knew him before he was in the WWE.
I forgot that he was in that.
That's how he was.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a funny dude.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. Which makes me glad that the WWE decided to take the train wheels off and said, yeah, just spit and just do you. Oh gosh. Cool says, I like that we get different narratives with AEW and not the same people every week. What I also like about AEW is they
not so much lately. Lately, it's been the same.
No.
It's JSA and the Elite, and yeah.
I like that they tell you where everybody's at, like wins, losses, and where they are in the in the pantheon of everything. Like, oh, this guy's a contender. This guy's working his way up. Like, I like how they do that.
What I also like what they do is they seem to have a way with how they can have a rotating card of main eventers, and they don't main event every single week with 4 or 5 wrestlers. It's you might have the MJF main event a week. I'll just go Dynamite. You might have MJF main event a week. Then you might have someone from JAS main event the next week. Then you might have Darby Allin main event the next week, and then you might have Orange Cassidy main event next week, and then you might have the women's title with Jamie Hayter the next week, and then you might have Daniel Bryan the next. And they have this way where any wrestler could close the show. That is what I like about AEW more than WWE, because they seem to WWE, they have a set amount of people who seem to close the show down. Like with SmackDown, this has to be somebody that's related to the bloodline. And Raw, it had to be Austin Theory or Seth Rollins or possibly Lashley. Maybe Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. And it's that close circle with WWE with main eventers versus AEW. You don't know who's going to close the card down. That's what I love about AEW most, is that.
And it's the same kind of thing. I've been saying this for years. How many times have you seen a title change hands on Raw recently? I haven't seen it in probably about 3 years.
The only time I saw it change was it when Theory had the U.S. title the first time and lost it?
That might have been the first.
And that was the first.
I think he took it from Finn Balor.
Or when he took, yeah. Besides that, you're right, man. The last time I remember a title change hands on Raw, it's been like years ago.
But anytime they're like, oh, this guy's gonna fight, this title holder's gonna fight, I'm like, all right, well, I know the outcome already.
Yeah.
I already know the outcome, so I don't need to really pay attention to the match because
the
we
guy
know
or the
how
woman,
it's gonna end.
Yeah, the guy or the woman's gonna put over the champion. Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh yeah. Cena's number 54. Yep, that's him. And yeah, I remember this too when Kurt Angle dropped those bars on Cena. That was actually 20 years ago. Hilarious. But what made it even more hilarious to me though was Angle actually worked at trying to actually be good enough to spit with him, and he knew how to be corny with it, and then he knew how to be serious with it at the same time. So I give Angle much credit for that. To me, one of the most underrated entertainers in wrestling history, in my opinion. Victor says, so with the addition of Mattel, there was no way Cena could have stayed the way he was. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he had to PG his act up. Yeah, and that's what happened. Yeah. 6 says MJF is a tremendous heel, especially with the antics outside the ring, especially with the mic. He is brilliant in that aspect.
He's the man right now with the mic.
He's brilliant with that. The dude can be a heat magnet
and that's what the ultimate heel is. That's what the ultimate heel is to be able to have them hate you so much that they love you.
Yeah. People pay to see him get beat, but he does the act so well. It's like, I want more of it. I want more of it. When MJF is on the screen, I don't give a crap if he's insulting me. I want more of that, and I want more of him. Oh yeah. Cool says MJF needs to wrestle more, even if it's non-title squash matches. Yeah, you could Ric Flair him. I can see that. Ric Flair him back in the studio WTBS days. Yeah, you could probably do that with him. Ryan says, didn't Big E win the WWE Championship from Lashley on Raw?
The difference is Big E cashed in Money in the Bank. That wasn't a set. That wasn't set up.
A straight up match. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Big E cashing in his Money in the Bank contract. So,
but to answer your question, technically, yes, it did. It did happen on Raw. You're correct. He says, how about Lashley taking the W title from Miz? Simply true, that did happen. Similar circumstance, although it was a week in between. But yeah, because how did it happen? It was a condition of Miz after he cashed in, and Lashley helped cash it in by basically running interference with Drew McIntyre. And if Miz won the title, it was a condition of their agreement that the first title defense would be against Lashley. So yeah, you're right, and then the title changed hands that next week.
Yeah,
correct. Ryan says, corny Kurt Angle was the best Kurt Angle. His vignettes of Stone Cold and Edge and Christian were legendary. I mean, that's where the "You Suck" chant started.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was willing to be the butt of the joke, but be this credentialed butt kicker in the ring, it blows my mind. That dynamic with Angle blows my mind. Oh, and before we go, oh, good Lord, you got dropped. I was going to ask. Let's see here. Darn, I would, but all right. Well, I think we had a wonderful discussion.
Oh, we did a little bit extra overtime today.
Yeah, we'll pull some overtime. I ain't mind it because the discussion was needed. It was necessary. We were cooking in the chat. We were cooking with each other. I love it. And it's where we talk wrestling. It was good to actually talk it, and it makes me think I probably should need to talk more wrestling on my own show too.
Okay, I got a beef though. I do got a beef.
All right, before we go, present your beef.
When am I going to be on Cold Sports with a Z?
That's your beef?
That's my beef.
Really?
That's my beef. Yeah, it's my beef because I heard somebody else was just on your show the other day.
No.
Who was the guest on your show the other day?
On Cold Sports, there was no guest.
There
on
was
the
you
show.
had a guest on your show.
I did not have a guest on
You
Cold
did.
Sports, man.
Yes, you did, man. Yes, you did.
Who? Well, then who was the guest?
Who did you have on sports recently?
Cold Sports? Me.
And no one else? No one popped
No one
up?
else.
No McCarthy, no McCarthy, no one? Deeds, no one? All right.
No.
Okay.
If I would have you come on, yes, it would be a rare appearance as a guest. Oh my gosh.
That's some 95% lean beef.
Oh Lord. 95% lean beef. Oh,
now these got in the sexy position when he comes back
Lord.
on.
No, I had to plug my laptop in.
He comes into the sexy position. Now he got the lighting. He's laying down.
Yeah, you know.
No, not the 80s R&B male R&B position, the pose. You know
that's
the
the LBL Shores pose right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the R&B greats.
That's how they sat on their cover.
Yes, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, all of them. Oh gosh. Sick. Go ahead and fire away and ask you ask your question at the end of Deets.
Question did I miss?
Let's see. Let me go back.
Yes. Anytime Shawn Michaels is always welcome.
Lately.
Oh, have you been feeling very oozy lately? Oh yeah. Shout out to Sami Zayn, who he is rocking it. He is. I never thought I would say that about him.
Shawn Michaels pose.
The Shawn Michaels pose. Because he's a sexy boy.
That's right.
He's not your boy.
Chris needs a bearskin rug.
Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you for backing me up, Victor. See, Wise, there was no guest.
Victor.
I watched both shows.
Just making sure. But I heard it sounded like you had a guest on.
I did not have a guest on the show, man.
All right, man.
Goodness.
Good.
All right, so Sami Zayn, Deets. What do you think about him?
I love Sami Zayn. He's been so underutilized.
He's so oozy.
He's just
criminally underutilized. Yeah.
I mean, in NXT, him and Kevin Owens basically carried NXT to where it is now. They launched it into another stratosphere. He's such a good performer that the problem is they have nothing for him to do. Like, and so he has to do all these other antics to get on. Like, you know, they did the whole had the camera guy following him and the conspiracy theorist thing and all of that. Now he's like, now he's like in the bloodline for no reason. Like you're not part of the I'm sorry, but you're the Usos are part of the bloodline. You're not part of the bloodline. You don't have any of that blood in you. Like it doesn't make any sense. So
well, if it comes to a good payoff, then I don't mind it. If it comes to a payoff where he actually ends up dethroning Reigns, then I'm cool with it. But if it's
gonna end up him and Kevin Owens against the Usos at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Because they got Cody Rhodes lined up for Roman.
I think that's what's going to happen this year. Yeah, but man, I would love it though if in the end, and it doesn't have to be this year's WrestleMania, it could be next year's, that he actually faces off against Roman and defeats him. Then to me, this bloodline thing would be worth it. But if they stop at, well, we're going to have you dethrone the Usos for the tag team titles with Owens, it'll be cool and all, but I just think that to me, it would make this wonderful run that Sammy has made up until now, it would fizzle. And it would almost be like, okay, so he was with the bloodline. It was cool and cute, but the payoff wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, you know, we all know it. We've said it. Cody's gonna win. Cody's going to
Cody
win the
should win the battle.
Rumble.
He should win the title with WrestleMania.
He should win the Royal Rumble, yes.
And then he's
Yeah, he should.
challenge Reigns
Mhm.
at WrestleMania. And the only thing it's going to be big. Cody Rhodes winning. You know, they're going to celebrate with Dusty. So his first match defense should be Dusty Rhodes' son versus Cowboy Bob Orton's son. It's like the perfect payoff.
And I mean, they do have chemistry and history with each other. So there you go.
You have the legacy match. It would be it would be fantastic.
And I'm sure Randy will have no problems putting Cody over, and will make him look like $1 million while doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that'd be great. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and that's his first title defense. Oh god, that'd be fire.
So Victor, since you did make a comment on this, we actually have a name for the show.
Yes, we do. Yes.
So the name of the show is called Mentality.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the men.
Emphasis on the men.
Yes.
And you see it in the chat. That's how it's spelled. That's the title of the show. Mentality.
Yes. And it will be coming soon, Victor. It will be coming soon. I think we actually are we scheduled for today to record?
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Friday? Yes, I think it's Friday, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I actually have fleshed out some type of topics that we'll talk about. And dang, now I got to get busy creating the intro and outro for the show. But that won't be a problem. Man, look, this is awesome. Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. Y'all are typing ads, and I have not said any ads.
Yeah, Ryan McCarthy has put the same ad up twice already.
Okay.
So obviously he wants you to
read it. Okay. So yeah, Sig Diggy says this beef between Cold Sports and Stuck in My Mind podcast is brought to you by Penis 15 Water. Ryan, this beef is brought to you by Olympic Slam Farms. Gold medal corn finished cattle delivered straight to your door. For the best beef, trust Olympic Slam Farms. Oh my gosh. Where do you all come up with this stuff?
Oh, you got too much time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry.
Well, Coffee be killing me with his ads, man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do it again since you added a word. All right. This beef is brought to you by Olympic Slam Farms. Gold medal quality corn finished cattle delivered straight to your door. For the best beef, trust Olympic Slam Farms. Oh my gosh. You all are too funny.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look, I would love to continue this, but I know that we all have some things to do and places to be. So we will cut this wonderful extended edition of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Well, I can't say short, but we'll cut it here. Any parting words that you both have before we do get out of here? I'll start with you, Mr. Dietz.
Tonight, 9:30, Fifth Down Sports Show. We will, of course, be talking Cowboys 49ers, and we're working on getting some people involved. So we'll have that going 9:30 tonight, and we'll go from there. And we might do another. We did it last week. We did a Saturday show. We might do another Saturday show before the games are played. So
okay, all right.
That's what we got going on because it's that's what we got. And Wise, let's go. Take out the Eagles.
So you wanted to be the Giants and Cowboys in Arlington. I'm sorry. Cool.
Everybody wants to play my Giants. Everyone wants to play my Giants.
I don't really know how I feel like. I feel like it would be better if the Cowboys were on the road, but you know, to have a home game, have a home game in the NFC Championship game would be fantastic. But you know, like I said, somebody asked me this before. They asked me this weekend. They said, "Who do you hate more, the Eagles or the Giants?" I said, "It's always going to be the Eagles.
Eagles. Yeah,
it's always the Eagles. I don't care. I mean,
for the Cowboys, the team that you're supposed to hate the most happens to be the Commanders. That's supposed to be the team you hate the most, but they've been let's be honest, as an organization and a team on the field, they've been hot garbage. So then it transfers to the Eagles.
Well, they also didn't cheer. The Commanders didn't cheer an injured player on the field. So
that would be the Eagles, yes. And the play he's talking about is Michael Irvin, and the field he's talking about is Veterans Stadium. Yeah, back in 1999.
Yeah, so that will always that will always stick.
Yeah. I cool. I wanted to address you. I want to address you, man. He says the Eagles are going to shock the system.
Shock what system? They've been the best team in
the best team in the league.
Shock what system? They're expected to be here.
Thank you for the Undisputed Era reference, sir. I appreciate that. Ryan says, "Wait, isn't taking out the Eagles a federal crime?" Oh man. Oh God. Cool says
it just might be.
Cool says, "Got to get someone else to do what you can't, Chris." Oh wow.
But I do recall Cool. They did beat you the last game they played.
Yeah, that's true. and I apologize to you, Cool. I did not call the Cowboys the proper name that you addressed them. The Arlington football team is not winning anyway, he says. Oh gosh. But Victor, he's right. The Cowboys have to focus on the 49ers because it will be a tough game.
Yes,
and not only that, this is the same team that knocked you out last year, and their team hasn't changed all that much. Yes, I know Purdy is the quarterback instead of Garoppolo, but the philosophy is the same. So you got to see if they can actually be more physical than they were last year.
Cool. Everybody's picking out a win, Cool.
And not have a brain fart in operating when you have to do a 2-minute offense. Hello, Dak Prescott.
And also, I mean, you talk about the game Monday night. Dak Prescott threw the ball 33 times.
Beautiful.
33 times.
That's how
Ezekiel Elliott ran the ball 15 times. Tony Pollard ran it 13. Dak ran it 5 times. By my calculations, and math is not my strong suit, but somebody else can do it. That's 33 rushing attempts. 33 passes, 33 running. What a shock.
They closed it out actually by running 35 times. That is the numbers I want to see when it comes to Cowboys. They need to not have Dak throw it more than, I actually say 30, but I'll go 35. They need to not have him throw more than 35 times, and they need to run it at least 30 times. They must do that in order for them to win.
They just need it to be balanced, and because they always fall into that. We're behind. We got to throw the ball 900 times. No, you got to stay balanced. It doesn't matter if it's working or not. You got to just do. You got to do it.
Yeah, you do. You do. Wise, where can people find you, sir? And what is on tap for you?
You can find me at Stuck in My Mind podcast on all major platforms. You can catch Poppy Jane Wise every Friday night on the BS3 network, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then you catch the replays on the BS3 YouTube channel as well as on Real Wise TV.
Cool. And you will also see him tomorrow if nothing else is preventing him being here on this very show, because he joins us every Thursday and Friday. So it's a wonderful addition to my week just to have him just anywhere in the vicinity of a microphone. You can catch me every Friday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern on Revelations as I interview different guests. You can also catch me on YouTube where Cole Sports is on 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, where I actually interview phantom guests on the show. And you can also catch me here every single weekday, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, for at least 2, if not in this case, almost 3 hours of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I know my partner is due to come back tomorrow. I'm glad he took the day off. He needed to. But thank you, everybody in the Fanatic Feedback Zone. I treasure your knowledge and your intelligence and your passion. I love all of you. I love these wonderful men here because they know what they're talking about. And it's great to know that I am amongst brethren when I talk anything sports and I actually learn something from the conversation getting away from the table. So that will do it for all of us here at Snowman and Morning with Cole Johnson. And I'm Cole Johnson with Wise and with Deeds to remind you to, good Lord.
Stay cool, my friends. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's a different one.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah, that
Always remind you to take care. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then don't be like me and having this conclusion happen and take a big giant
That's a long ass hell.
But on a serious note, oh my gosh, dream big, do bigger. That's what Deets is doing. That's what Wise is doing. I know in the Fanatic Feedback Zone, that's what you're all doing with Cool and with Ryan. I know that's what you all are doing. Victor, I see you as well. Sick, I see you as well. We hope you all there are doing the same as well. For Wise, for Deets, and for my partner, Brian Snow, this is Cole Johnson saying so long. We will see you again tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, as we go live with Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. See you later.